107,000 file into Michigan Stadium, the Big Ten opener in Ann Arbor. Football a rite of fall in these parts, a celebration of all that is blue. Indiana furnishes the opposition. Kickoff coming up, but first we check in with Mike Gleason in the Big Ten studio.
Thanks, Wayne. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillips 66 ESPN Plus College Game Day studio. Alongside Rod Smith, I'm Mike Gleason. As always, it's great to have you with us again today. Rod, the way Michigan ran the football against Oregon, or didn't run the football against Oregon, if you're an Indiana linebacker or safety, you got to get psyched up because you know the boys in blue, they're going to be coming at you today.
Well, I think it's imperative today for Lloyd Carr and the Wolverines to get the ball in Chris Perry's hands. He had 13 touches for 23 yards last week against Oregon, and that will not get it done in Big Ten play. If you're a Hoosier fan, I think it's critical that they make plays in the special teams. Michigan had 5 or 6 very bad plays last week against Oregon, and I think it's the way that Indiana can level the playing field.
Rod, John Navarre took some more heat after the loss last week. Keep in mind that with 137 yards passing today, he becomes the first Michigan player to throw for 7,000 yards. Looking at the rest of the Big Ten slate today, Michigan State back home after beating Notre Dame in South Bend last week. John L. gets his first taste of Big Ten football. Look out for the Iowa linebackers. Chad Greenway, Abdul Hodge have collected double-figure tackles in back-to-back games. Arizona State only 24 yards rushing. Minnesota, they take a 4-0 record in the Happy Valley. How about Marion Barber? He's rebounded from last year's injuries with a vengeance. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry. His 10 touchdowns lead the league. And Northwestern's Jason Wright is averaging 118 yards a game, but today, folks, he's in Columbus. The Buckeyes only give up 24 yards rushing a ball game. Meanwhile, Purdue gets Notre Dame in West Lafayette. Wisconsin travels to Illinois. Last week, of course, we had the Illini, and John Butcher, Rod, had 55 yards passing in the first half. He winds up with 430, but they still lose the ball game. Is that football team to the point now where they're wondering if they can win?
I think they are. And when you look at Illinois' ball club, I think they have got to find some kind of identity. You know, we saw them a couple weeks ago. We were in Champaign doing the game, and at first they start out running trap plays and sweeps. The second half they go to direct run plays. In the passing game, they start out the game throwing the ball short, then they try to throw things long. I think they've got to find some plays on offense that they can hang their hat on, that they can count on to get 4 or 5 yards, because right now they don't have that.
How you feeling?
Pretty good.
Comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's time for 10 in the Big Ten again. These from emails received from Big Ten fans. Number one this week, who's the favorite to win the 108th Big Ten championship?
To beat the champ, to be the champ, you've got to beat the champ. So as far as I'm concerned, the championship for the Big Ten runs through Columbus.
This from Margaret Goddard of Tampa, Florida. Should Illinois go to the no huddle?
Illinois simply doesn't have the offensive linemen to protect Butcher throwing the ball 60, 70 times a game.
Number three, how did Oregon quack the Michigan attack?
Well, they beat him physically, and they beat him on special teams. Michigan had a number of very poor plays, which cost them the game.
Who is the biggest surprise of the non-conference season?
Well, people not in the know would think it's Iowa, but if you look at the way they played last year, being physical and not making mistakes, it's no surprise they're successful.
Rod, who's Chad Greenway leading the Big Ten in tackles?
Chad Greenway is a tackling machine, baby. He's only a sophomore, and he's going to be a good defender for the Hawkeyes for a long time.
This from Dixie Elliott in Columbus. Are the Buckeyes the best TV team in the nation?
Well, they play close games. They keep fans in the stands, so they're in the games, and they keep winning.
Number 7, how good are the Gophers?
You know what? I have absolutely no idea. I don't think anybody knows. They're going to have their first litmus test today against Penn State.
Why is Zach Mills not putting up better numbers?
Well, he just doesn't have a good surrounding cast. Penn State only has 5 Super Prep All-Americans on that entire roster.
Tyler Beinlich from Hudson, Wisconsin wants to know who's the top offensive player in the Big Ten.
For my money, it's Lee Evans. He is the most physically gifted and competitive wide receiver in the nation, let alone the Big Ten.
Wearing a different uniform is Jason Wright, the best back in the Big Ten.
Mike, I think the Big Ten is stocked with good running backs. You have Fred Russell, Anthony Davis, Chris Perry. I think there are a number of guys in the Big Ten that can beat you on the ground.
You know, next week or the week after, I'm sure someone will email and ask you who the best back in the Big Ten is. But we certainly appreciate those who have responded via email. Again, if you have a comment for Rod or a question, email us at 10inbig10@espn.com. We look forward to hearing from you. Well, Michigan was hoping they could run the table this year, but a breakdown in special teams cost them in Oregon a week ago. That's our topic when we come back. Welcome back to ESPN Plus College Game Day, presented by Phillips 66. Jim Bakker's Michigan special teams coach, one coach who probably didn't get a lot of sleep on that flight back from Oregon last Saturday. The special teams. Last week, Oklahoma returned 3 punts for touchdowns in a big victory. Georgia misses 3 field goals. They lose to LSU. Florida State made 4 field goals, built a big lead against Colorado in their victory. And if you watch the Michigan-Oregon game, Rod, you know exactly where I'm going here.
Yeah, you're going to special teams, and you should. Michigan last week against Oregon was awful on teams, and it cost them the game. And it wasn't coaching. I mean, these are players just physically not getting it done at the point of attack. They had a punt returned against them for a touchdown. And the problem with this play is you see 5 Michigan Wolverines flat on their back when the play's over. If you're on the ground, you're a dead man. And in an obvious punt return situation, Oregon has 6 guys on the line of scrimmage. The upbacks have to recognize this and set strong, deliver a blow, not get pushed back 8 yards deep and get the punt blocked.
And Rod, you haven't even mentioned the blocked extra point yet either.
And that was another lack of execution by the kicker. I mean, the ball came out like a 2-iron, and it got blocked in the guy's armpit.
So the coaches, they'll take the heat at Michigan, but really it's the players that have to step up and take responsibility.
Yeah, the staff did a good job putting their players in position to do things, but the players just absolutely were physically beaten in a lot of cases one-on-one.
All right, well, Big Blue now forced to forget about those big mistakes and move on. Indiana will try to tame this wounded bear this afternoon. It's Hoosiers and Wolverines from the Big House. Welcome back to ESPN Plus, College Game Day presented by Phillips 66. Matt LaVecchio sat for an entire season after transferring from Notre Dame. Now he gets a taste of the Big House wearing the Hoosier colors. And Rod Lloyd Carr says LaVecchio's confident, he's experienced, he's tough. Let's say he has a career day. Where else does Indiana have to step up to win this football game?
Well, he's going to need to get some protection. The offensive line for Indiana is really going to have to step up and play a good game because Michigan should blitz like mad and try to get pressure on the quarterback because they got none last week at Oregon.
All right, we're about to find out if Indiana can find any dents in Michigan's armor. Let's head out to the Big House for today's call with Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, and Gary Williams. Rod and I'll be back here at halftime. Enjoy the first half.
Well, thank you very much, Mike Gleason. It is a sun-splashed afternoon here at Michigan Stadium. Better than 107,000 will be on hand for the Big Ten opener between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Michigan Wolverines. Take a look at the weather report brought to you by Prestone. When you want protection inside and out, you want the Prestone family. 61 degrees, winds gusty a little bit, 15 to 25 miles per hour. We expected much worse than partly sunny. It was supposed to rain here today, but apparently that rain got through here last night, and we should have just a perfect fall afternoon for college football. Michigan will receive to start the ball game this afternoon. Indiana actually won the toss and deferred its decision to the second half, so Michigan accepted the football, and John Navarre will be on the field early. He was on the field late at Oregon a week ago, threw a lot of passes in that game. Tony Grosfeld getting sent to kick it away for the Indiana Hoosiers, clad in the crimson and white uniforms. Twin safeties back deep for the Michigan Wolverines. Rembert and LeSueur back deep for Michigan. Great to have you with us this afternoon. And that wind blew the ball off the kicking tee. I'd say it's about a 1 or 2 club win to the back of the kicker here. Grosfeld, a freshman out of Denver, Colorado. A lot of freshmen, a lot of underclassmen will play for Indiana here today. Good leverage into this kick. It is LeSueur. Had to wait for it, stumbled just a bit. Gets out across the 15, but no farther. Good coverage provided on the play by the Hoosiers. Matt Calvert on the stop with a Luke Stone 12-yard return. And we take a look at the Michigan quarterback, John Navarre. 28-55 at a comeback effort at Oregon last week. His receivers had dropped at least 6 balls on him. The coaches said they should have caught 9 other passes. He was a little bit wild high, and when the quarterback's wild high, the receiver's going to have trouble holding onto the ball at times. First and 10, Michigan from the Wolverine 16 to Chris Perry. Didn't like the first hole, bounces to the outside. Gets across the 20-yard line to the 21, gain of 5. Backs and receivers. Well, we mentioned Chris Perry, and he is a Heisman candidate. At least he was before a 26-yard, 11-carry performance at Oregon.
Left guard David Boz is a classic Michigan guard along the lines of former All-American Steve Hutchinson.
Here's a look at big David Boz. Another in a long list of Michigan outstanding offensive linemen. Second down. Navarre, a little quick look in. Andy Minery, one of the things they want to do is get the tight ends involved, and the first completion of the day to the tight end Andy Minery. on the defense for the Hoosiers. Defensive end Victor Adianju was born in Chicago, spent most of his childhood in Nigeria, and right now he leads the IU defensive line in tackles. Josh Moore, undersized but very active outside linebacker.
Safety Joe Gonzalez has struggled with injuries the last 2 years, but he should provide much needed leadership in that young defense.
Missed the first 3 games with a knee injury this season. 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. Quick toss, Gonzalez. Nice stiff arm to get around the corner. Got by Dwayne Stone and appears to have a first down across the Michigan 40-yard line. Yeah, they're going to mark it as a 9-yard gain rather than 10, and it'll be 2nd and short coming up.
Indiana was determined coming into this game, force Michigan to throw the ball, take away the running game. That's what Oregon did last week. They're going to have 8, 9, sometimes 10 men even up in that box, just daring Michigan to throw it. That can be dangerous.
Jerry DiNardo in his 2nd season as the Hoosier head coach. 2nd and short. Perry, little hesitation move. Take a look at these moves. Into the clear. To the 35-30. Still on his feet and finally wrestled down inside the 20-yard line of Indiana. Chris Perry, Leonard Bryant, Buster Larkin bring him down 41 yards downfield.
We talked about Indiana wanting to take away that run. They bring everybody up. Well, if you bring everybody up and you break the line of scrimmage, you're going to have a lot of room to run. Not really much of a hole there, but Perry just finds the angles, finds the alley, gets through there, then it's just speed, and that's where the long, big plays come for this Michigan offense when they can get that speed to the outside.
How about that lateral move he made in the hole? My goodness. First down now, Michigan in scoring territory. Navarre to the end zone. Intercepted. A pass comes up short. Intended for Preston and picked off by the Indiana Hoosiers, Leonard Bryant.
When you talked about the wind being at Indiana's back on the kickoff, that was a play where Steve Preston, the freshman receiver, was open by a good 5 or 6 yards. Navarre just didn't put enough on it. I think the wind held that up and allowed Bryant to get underneath it and make the interception.
4th interception of the season for John Navarre.
Take a look at how open Preston's going to be. He even slips trying to come back to the ball. That was a good 6-7 yards underthrown.
So the Indiana Hoosiers get a break defensively, force a turnover, and it's first down for the Hoosiers, deep in their own territory. Lovecchio undershot his intended receiver. Pass intended for Brian Lewis. Matt Lovecchio is a transfer out of Notre Dame, and he is one of just 4 active quarterbacks to lead a team to a BCS bowl game. He took the Irish to the Fiesta Bowl as a freshman. Lost the job as a sophomore, transferred to Indiana last year and sat out with a redshirt season. 2nd and 10. Pinozo, the fullback, in motion. Lewis hit in the backfield. Pat Massey made the stop as we get a look at the backs and receivers for Indiana. Travis Haney replaces the injured Courtney Roby at wide receiver. Haney leads this team in yards per catch.
Center Chris Mangiro, a true freshman, is making his first start today due to the injury to Brandon Hatcher.
Loss of 2 on the previous plays. 3rd and long for Indiana. 3rd and about 12. Lovecchio tried to get it to Haney. Jackson may have screened the receiver from in front of the play. Nashua provided pass rush up front from Michigan. So 1, 2, 3 and out following the interception. And the Hoosiers bring the punt unit on.
Nice job by this Michigan defense. Every coach talks about sudden change. You have to respond well to a sudden change. There was the interception. The defense goes right onto the field. 3 and out. Not only that, didn't give up any yards, and now Indiana's got to punt deep from their end zone.
Tyson Beatty's specialty is pinning opponents inside the 20. However, that's not an option on this punt. He's kicking from the back line of his end zone, literally under the crossbar of the goal post. He needs distance on this one, and he's got the wind to his back. Kind of an end-over-end kick, and Preston makes the catch of the 48 of Indiana. Dancing inside the 40. He is stormed right back. Aaron Halterman, a tight end, made the hit. 45-yard punt, 8-yard return. Scoreless in Michigan, early going first quarter. Michigan gets excellent field position to start their second offensive possession of the game at the Indiana 40-yard line, 1st and 10. And they're going wide with Chris Perry hit from behind, a short gain. Wayne Larrivee along with Randy Wright. Great to have you with us. Gary Williams down on the sidelines. We'll check with him in a few moments. And kind of a strange start to this ball game, Randy.
Well, Michigan, their defense has been carrying them all year. They get the turnover deep in Indiana territory, but their defense stiffens and doesn't give Indiana any yards, no first down. Now they get good field position again.
All right, and a moment ago we have a face mask on the tackle of Chris Perry, so that'll give Michigan further yardage deeper inside of Indiana territory. Now the Hoosiers moved the football, or I should say the Wolverines moved the football. Just the interception at the end killed their drive. And
that's what they're going to have to do to stay in this game, Indiana. They're going to have to create some turnovers and get some breaks.
First down. Perry drew a crowd just short of the first down marker at the 31-yard line. Let's take a look at the Napa keys to the game.
Wayne, for Indiana, it's kind of pick your poison on defense. They're going to stack that box and force Navarre to throw the ball. They're going to put those corners on an island, and that's going to be very risky for them, but they have to take away the run. For Michigan, just be what you are. Stay balanced. Don't try and run every play to prove you can do it. Take advantage of what Indiana's given you.
Look at big number 58, Courtney Young, one of the few seniors playing for Jerry DiNardo here today. Perry again. This time he's got the first down to the 29-yard line. Michigan finally made the field last week with 2:11 to go in the first quarter. So you knew today when Indiana won the toss and deferred their decision that Michigan would accept the football. They wanted it a little bit earlier than they got it last week. There's Jerry DiNardo in his second season. Slow start to his career at Indiana, but he is remaking this football program. 1st and 10 for Michigan at the Hoosier 29. No score, first quarter. Preston the man in motion. Navarre into the flat for a short gain. And let's go to the studio for the first time today. And Mike Gleason. Mike.
Well, Wayne, the Buckeyes strike early against Northwestern. They go 59 yards, 11 plays. 12-yard run by Lydell Ross. He has 3 carries, 25 yards. Buckeyes on the board first at 7-0. And let's go over to East Lansing. The Spartans score first against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Jeff Smoker goes upstairs, finds Zeal Kavanaugh 17 yards for the touchdown. It's 7-0 Spartans over Iowa. Back to Ann Arbor.
Thank you, Mike. Second down for Michigan off the pass play to Chris Perry, and now he gets it on the ground. Good move made by Josh Moore, the linebacker from the weak side, coming into the hole. The All-State coaches poll. Oklahoma, Miami, USC atop that poll. Ohio State hanging in there. They have not been impressive 4-0, but nonetheless they are 4-0.
Yeah, and you look at Iowa down there, number 9, right ahead of Michigan. Iowa has been impressive and a big surprise because Kirk Ferentz and people in Iowa thought they would be good. I don't know how many people outside of Iowa City thought that.
You know, Randy, last year Iowa was carried primarily by an experienced big play offense. This year it's been defense. They've had to remake things on the offensive side. Third down. Preston was open and Navarre missed him. Would have been 6.
This is what Tim Kish, the defensive coordinator for Indiana, feared. If I'm going to put guys in the box and stop the run, I'm going to have to cover man-to-man with my corners and safeties. Michigan has so many weapons. They're going to get open. We just have to get lucky. The second time Navarre's had a receiver open, the same route, the post corner route. Nice move, just not a great ball.
Michigan is thinking about going for it here. Indiana calls a timeout. So Michigan thinking about going for it on 4th down and 6, Randy. And again, they are going into the wind, and they have had a shaky kicking game. Lloyd Carr talks it over with his veteran quarterback, John Navarre. No score. Michigan going for it on 4th and 6. They are 6 of 8 this season on 4th down conversions. Navarre, tight pocket, over the middle, Perry through his hands, intercepted, and here come the Indiana Hoosiers. Dwayne Stone off the deflection. Second interception in this first quarter. Second in as many drives for John Navarre, the Michigan offense.
Right, I think Michigan went for that on 4th and 6 because they would be kicking a 42-yard field goal into the wind, and with their kicking woes, not a big confidence in that. But secondly, Michigan has had open receivers. Navarre just hasn't hit them. I think they had confidence that they were going to get people open. Here, Perry was the ball thrown a little hard for such a short pass. Perry did a nice job maneuvering the coverage, making the cut to get open. The ball just got upon him a little quicker than he was expecting it.
Indiana defense came in with 3 interceptions all season. They've had 2 in this first quarter today. And now they've got it at the Hoosier 29. Taylor, not much there. Got back to the line of scrimmage. Chris Taylor will see Brian Lewis. We saw him on the first drive. Chris Taylor, a sophomore from Memphis, Tennessee here. And we will see Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, a true freshman running back. The Michigan defensive line dominated by 5th-year seniors. Grant Bowman is the captain. Pierre Woods at outside linebacker is becoming a force. He's just a sophomore. Lanky outside linebacker, a lot of range. Johnson in motion, second down Indiana. Lovecchio handcuffed his receiver on the play that time. Pinozzo, the fullback out of the backfield, could not handle the pass.
You see a little bit of the Indiana game plan. Quick 3-step drops, try to get the ball to their backs in the flat. Take a look at the Michigan secondary again. Jeremy LeSueur at corner, a 5th-year senior, got the Wolverines going last week with his touchdown off of the blocked field goal.
Indiana facing 3rd and 10. 4 receivers set. High snap to Lovecchio, and the rush is on. He screens it out and undershot his intended receiver. Intended on the play for Chris Taylor. A dreadful 2 offensive series for Indiana following turnovers by their defense deep in Hoosier territory.
Well, this is a play on 3rd down. You run a screen. You want it to be against zone coverage. Then you can get your lineman out. Michigan was in man-to-man coverage. They had the back Taylor covered. Lovecchio wisely threw the ball into the dirt to get rid of it rather than set his player up to get hit.
So Tyson Beatty for the 2nd time today in punt formation. Preston back deep. Line drive kick. Preston is hit. Breaks 1 tackle. And now he's off to the races. Cutting it back into the clear. Secretariat at the Belmont. Nobody in the picture but Steve Preston to the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan. Line drive, 39-yard punt. Preston made the first man miss. 68 yards later, he's celebrating in the end zone.
The special teams that dogged Michigan last week. Here, the first big play of the game. 1 missed tackle right there. It's not as though he does anything outstanding. He just gets good blocking, and then the Indiana coverage team overruns him. And when he gets into the open field with his speed, you're not going to catch him.
Garrett Rivas out of the hold of Gutierrez, the backup quarterback, and Michigan foiled twice on offense in this first quarter, takes a 7-0 lead over Jerry DiNardo's Indiana Hoosiers. Steve Preston, with all that speed, explodes for Michigan in this first quarter. Special teams has been all or nothing for Michigan, and it was all on this last play. Steve Preston, 68 yards for the touchdown. Preston, the first man since Charles Woodson back in 1997 to return a punt for a touchdown for the Wolverines. There it is. Should be 1997. We'll get it corrected for you. Coming up under it and making the catch, Lance Bennett. And Bennett didn't get a whole lot. Short kick into the wind, and Indiana will start near their 21-yard line.
Today's Big Ten game is brought to you by Yamaha. Makers of fine motorcycles and ATVs, nobody's more in tune with motorsports than Yamaha. Allstate, you're in good hands with Allstate. Volvo, Volvo for life. And by Prestone. When you want protection inside and out, you want the Prestone family.
Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Gary Williams patrolling the sidelines for us. Indiana takes over for the third time offensively. They've had 2 3-and-outs on their first 2 series of the game. Out of the shotgun, Lovecchio, the quick bubble screen. And the bubble was burst really by Jeremy LeSueur, who backed up Travis Haney. And then got some help from his friends to take down the intended receiver Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. Lawrence Reed the tackle on the play.
Indiana trying to run passing plays that are designed against zone defenses. Michigan, though, has come up. They're determined to play man-to-man today. The best receiver for Indiana, Courtney Roby, injured last week, not playing today. Michigan convinced they can cover these receivers man-to-man, put an extra guy in the box today to take away the run.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis gets by Pierre Woods. Best play of the day thus far for the Indiana offense, out near the 30-yard line on a gain of about 10 yards. Reed and Stewart on the stop for Michigan.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, a true freshman, one of 3 different backs that has led this Hoosier team in rushing over the season per game. So they put in a variety of backs, and really Jerry DiNardo has told us, hey, whoever's got the hot hand is who's going to stay in there and get the majority of the carries.
And Jarvis Green Ellis, a true freshman out of New Orleans, Louisiana. 3rd down and short for the Hoosiers. Not a lot there. Did he reach far enough for the first down is the only question. Michigan stacked it up in the mid portion of the line.
Tough for Indiana, although they get the first down on this play. Tough for them to run on the inside. They're using a true freshman in Chris Mangiero, making his first start because of the injury against a veteran 5th-year senior group of defensive linemen for Michigan, and that just makes it that much harder for him.
1st and 10 for the Hoosiers at the Indiana 32. Their first down of the game that they made. Out of the shotgun, kind of an awkward play there, and the Wolverines were waiting for it. A loss of 2 back to the 30. Joining us, as I mentioned on the sidelines, Gary Williams. Gary, it's been a long time since the Crimson and Cream won in this building.
You're absolutely right. You know, 67 represented the lone year they went to the Rose Bowl. Also the last time they won in this building. How long ago was it? Lyndon Johnson was in the White House. The Packers were winning Super Bowl I, and Aretha Franklin was releasing Respect. How about you guys help me spell respect?
Gary, I'm a bad speller and an even worse singer. You wouldn't want me to go there. 2nd and 12. Quick handoff up the middle and churning his way. Getting the call that time. They're handing it off to the not a whole lot there for the fullback John Pinozzo, who doesn't run the football very much. He's a little bit of a receiver and blocker, but not much of a runner. However, he did plow ahead for some yardage there.
More of a glorified guard in the backfield. Pinozzo, that's his first carry all year. So a little bit of a surprise there, but they've got nothing to lose. They're going to try and mix things up and keep Michigan guessing defensively.
Pinozzo, the lone back. 3 receivers set. Slot at the bottom of your screen. Lovecchio under pressure. Right up the middle. Patrick Massey with his 2nd tackle behind the line of scrimmage today. Loss of yardage back inside the 30 to the 28.
We take a look at where the pressure's coming from. It's just the pocket collapses. Michigan runs a little stunt, and Massey just does his stunt, comes from the top of the screen there underneath, and the Indiana offensive line doesn't pick that up. Lovecchio's got no chance to get rid of that ball.
So it is 4th down. This might be a busy afternoon for the punter Tyson Beatty. There's Patrick Massey receiving congratulations. Beatty gets the snap and gets his kick away. Good leverage into this kick, and a fair catch signal made by Breston comes up under it and makes it, cradling as he goes to the field at the 38-yard line. Let's take a moment to thank our corporate partners. Cooper Tire, proud to be the official tire of the Big Ten Conference. Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. And WorldSpan, official travel distribution and technology provider of the Big Ten Conference. Michigan returned to the field offensively. They've been frustrated. They've been able to move the football, but their drives have ended in turnovers. Chris Parrott to the outside, slips and falls, and then is dragged down by Hernandez Jones. Pickup of maybe 1 for the 2nd week in a row. The unit that scored first for Michigan was not the offense, but the special teams.
Well, the special teams has made big plays even for Michigan last week. They just had more against them than they had for them. But Michigan needs to get their tight ends involved offensively. 5 receptions for the year coming into this game. That's not Michigan offense. With a quarterback struggling like Navarre is early, he needs easy passes, and that's going to be the tight end.
Preston on the reverse. Blocked pretty well, and Preston out to the midfield marker, a first down. Gain of about 12 yards. Killian, the linebacker, made the stop. So Preston, boy, I tell you, this kid is being featured more and more. A redshirt freshman out of North Braddock, Pennsylvania.
Well, Wayne, coming into the game, Michigan had 32 plays over 20 yards. Preston accounted for 9 of them.
More and more, he is the big play guy, isn't he?
And he's developing more in that because not they're designing it for him, he's just making them on his own.
First and 10. Screen set up. Chris Perry gets a nice block. Pulled down after a gain of 6 to the 44. Back to the studio, Mike Gleason.
Well, Wayne, the Gophers have scored a couple of touchdowns. Marion Barber scores his 11th, and then they go 99 yards in 12 plays as Lawrence Maroney gets in. 141 yards to 32. It's 14-0. Gophers on top of the Lions.
My goodness, what is happening in this conference? The Gophers are winning in Happy Valley. The Spartans are knocking off the Hawkeyes 14-0.
You never know how good Minnesota is because their non-conference schedule generally is pretty weak. So you have to wait till they get into the Big Ten to find out.
Well, we're finding out. Penn State will be in come from behind mode. Here's Chris Perry, first down. Oh, he lost the football, or did he? Yes, he did. And Indiana has it. Fumble recovery by Kyle Killian, and the Hoosiers, for the 3rd time in this first quarter, have forced a turnover and take the ball back.
Well, this offense for Michigan just hasn't gotten into a rhythm and a sync yet. Take a look, the right side of your screen, huge hole. Perry gets through it, and right at the end, boy, that ball came out, looked like on the knee of Josh Moore, hits him before he hits the ground. That was close, but Indiana obviously excited about the best field position now they will have.
From their 39. Alterman, a tight end, the man in motion. Brian Lewis for about 5 yards to the 44-yard line. Second down coming up for Indiana. You know, the Hoosier coaches talked this week about staying on schedule, getting 4, 5, 6 yards at first down, not facing 3rd and long situations as they have in their first couple of series.
Well, you have to stay in rhythm to keep a defense balanced. Michigan, though, when they can play aggressive and create shutdown first down, that's going to dictate the rest of that series. And so far today, Michigan has won that battle.
Again, the tight end in motion. And again, they go to Lewis. Burst up the middle for Lewis into Michigan territory for the first time this afternoon for the Indiana Hoosiers. First and 10 to the 47-yard line of Michigan. Patrick Massey made the stop, gain of 8.
Right. Chris Manager, take a look right there. The job he's doing coming off the ball and opening up a double team right there, clears that way, and Brian Lewis has a huge hole to run through. 2 plays in a row now. Mangiero maybe got the early game jitters out. He's played very well the last 2 plays.
We talked to his dad, IU Director of Football Operations, Dino Mangiero, earlier this morning. He was as excited as his son must have been. Lewis gets very little here, pickup of 1, but Dino played with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks, and now is proud papa of his son starting his first game for the Indiana Hoosiers. And what a place to start your first game of your collegiate career. Michigan Stadium.
Last week, Chris Mangiero comes in for the injury, plays 3 quarters, but this week he had the whole week to think about it, prep for it, knowing what he was going against. A different approach for him this week.
Second down and 9. Michigan showing blitz with Marlon Jackson in the slot. Picked up pretty well. Intercepted Jeremy Lesor. One man to beat, and Lesor beats him to the sidelines of the end zone for the touchdown. '60-yard return.
Take a look how Lavecchio was looking to the right the whole way. He never takes his eyes off of it. Jeremy Lesur gets a great read on that. That allows him to get an early jump on that pass. cuts right in front of the receiver. Just a great play that started with the read of the quarterback and then the play after that.
Garrett Rivas with the point after. It is good. Well, when your special teams are scoring and your defense is scoring, you don't need your offense to score a whole lot, do you?
You just need your offense not to hurt you. Take a look at LeSueur up on top. He's looking into the backfield, looking at, never really looks at the receiver. Just reads the quarterback the whole way. That comes from studying film, having a idea of what the route's going to be, and then you can jump on it and react a little quicker. Take a look. He's up here. His eyes are in the backfield the whole way. Slovecchio goes back to a quick 5 steps right there, throws the ball. LeSueur makes the cut towards the ball before the receiver does. Lloyd Carr talked about him, said, finally now, as a 5th-year senior, I'm getting a full 60 minutes of play out of him. He was one that had tremendous ability early, but just lost some concentration and would give up some big plays as well as make some plays. Just this year, he's really starting to play the way a Michigan corner should. In the last 2 games, 2 of the biggest plays.
So LeSueur with his 2nd interception of the season. Troy Nienberg sent to kick it away for Michigan. Wolverines leading 14-0 in this first quarter. Muffed by Bennett. And he's out across the 20-yard line. Resourceful return following the muff. And Joey Sorrentos made the stop for Michigan. First down coming up for Indiana. Lance Bennett, an interesting story. Rapper, writer, writes songs for Will Smith. And a 70-yard kickoff return earlier this year.
One of the things Slovecchio has really improved on this year for the Indiana offense is the number of interceptions. He had only thrown 2 coming into this game, whereas last year the Hoosiers offensively threw 21 touchdowns. He's got to make sure he gets that out of his mind and executes the offense.
Lewis hammered down, and I mean Carl Diggs came over and flattened him. Partly sunny afternoon, crisp and cool here in Michigan. It is a beautiful day for football at Michigan Stadium, and better than 107,000 on hand. Along with Randy Wright and Gary Williams down on the sidelines, I'm Wayne Larrivee. Great to have you with us on this college football Saturday afternoon. That SBC line on the bottom of your screen will keep you updated on the scores going on around the country. Big Ten as well. 2nd down and 9. Lovecchio screens it out. Taylor is nabbed. Boy, they had a posse of Wolverines out there led by Carl Diggs. Michigan well prepared here defensively this afternoon.
Carl Diggs doing a nice job from his middle linebacker position, reading what was going to happen. And then watch him. He's right here. He's going to see the screen, and he beats the blockers out there to it. He knows what's coming on. He's reading the guards. He sees it, comes underneath them, and makes a nice play.
And a loss of about 2 yards, leaving a 3rd and 11. So according to the offensive coaches, the Hoosiers are off schedule a bit here. Lovecchio lots of time and throws it away out of bounds. Tyke Spence, the intended receiver, underneath the coverage of Curry, Marcus Curry. It is 4th down for Indiana.
One of the few plays where Lovecchio has really had time to set his feet and see things develop down the field. He had time to throw, but excellent coverage, had nowhere to go. Wisely just threw the ball out of bounds.
Well, we've got a break as the first quarter comes to a close. Special teams and defense highlight Michigan's 14-0 lead over Indiana. Tyson Beatty out in punt formation for the Hoosiers. They've been unable to sustain much offensively against the Michigan defense. Michigan has struggled offensively as well with turnovers. However, they lead at 14-0 as we embark on the 2nd quarter of this afternoon's game from Michigan Stadium. Breston giving chase. Fair catch signal, and he makes the catch. near the Michigan 43-yard line. Well, it's been a strain. How do you do this, Randy? You turn it over 3 times offensively in one quarter, yet you lead 14-0. How does that happen?
Well, it happens because your defense is playing great, and Indiana offensively hasn't been able to get anything going because they're always facing 3rd and long, and that Michigan defense is doing such a good job of putting pressure on Matt LaVecchio with only rushing 4. That leaves you 7 to cover.
Everyone knew Michigan would have a good offense, and they have over the last several years, but the defense this year is what has made the difference. It's dominated by seniors.
Well, and it's that leadership. When you have a defensive line that is made up of leaders like Michigan has, the rest of the team is willing to follow that.
Good field position for Navarre and company. Already 60 yards rushing for Chris Perry. Got another yard there. We take a look at the Pontiac. First quarter stats for you. No question, Michigan moved the football. And they did it both, well, really on the ground for the most part. Navarre has struggled in the air. He has not been accurate. He's been picked off twice. Perry has lost a fumble.
Well, that often happens when a quarterback will lose a big game. You get a little pressure, face some criticism. You come out, you start to press and start to force things to happen instead of just letting your natural ability take over.
Navarre on 2nd down. Deep drop as he hands it off to the running back, and not a whole lot there as Chris Perry picks up about 3 or 4 yards at the most. Michigan got on the board via special teams. Preston breaks the tackle of Leonard Smith there, and then it's off to the races. And then the interception by Jeremy Lesueur down the sidelines. Great break on the ball. LaVecchio was the last man to have a shot at him, and he was not equal to the task. 3rd down for the Wolverines. Navarre. Tight end backpedaling out of bounds. Tim Massaquoi with a first down inside the Hoosier 40 at the 37-yard line. Kyle Killian had the coverage, 16-yard gain.
Well, Michigan determined to come out to get the tight end involved in the passing game. Here's the 2nd pass we've seen to Massaquoi here. Done a nice job running a simple little route, but against his zone coverage, you can see him run away from it. And that gives him a nice job to pick up that first down. Nice job by Navarre getting the ball there to him. Massaquoi only 4 receptions for the year. He had to have 4 a game.
Well, they had a tight end here last year. Benny Jackrew had that kind of ability. And talk about ability. How about this? Calvin Bell on the reverse. To the 19-yard line, we go to the Big Ten studio. And Mike Gleason.
And when we take it to SEC country, Kentucky, Florida, look at the big guy. Fran Tarkenton, Randy Wright, Jared Lorenzen. The answer is C. Jared Lorenzen, the big quarterback. He leads the Cats downfield. 42 yards, 10 plays. It's 7-0 right now. Kentucky on top of the Gators, Wayne.
You know, when Kentucky played at Indiana last week, Lorenzen, the quarterback, was what, bigger than all but 2 defenders for the Hoosiers on the field?
He weighed more than all but 2 of the starters for Indiana defensively. And Indiana's not a small team.
1st and 10. They fake the reverse. Perry keeps it, and he's tackled on the outside. Gonzalez really did a good job of staying with that play, and Adeyanju got over from the defensive line.
Well, boy, it's hard when you run a reverse and it works to come right back and run it the next play. And Indiana that time did a nice job of reading this and gets a lot of white jerseys over there. Gonzalez, he was the first man there, as you said, does a nice job staying home, turns Perry back into where the flow is coming from. That's where the white jerseys are going to be.
A little over 2 minutes gone by in this 2nd quarter. Michigan leading 14-0, trying to score for the first time offensively in the game. Navarre through the hands of Bruston, incomplete. Bruston wide open under the coverage of Gonzalez.
Wayne, this ball would have been a difficult catch because it was thrown so hard, but that has been a major problem for the Wolverines this year. The dropped passes, too many of them, especially in key times. Quick read, the tight end there runs the corner. You bring the wide receiver underneath, just a high-low read. Navarre makes a good read, throws the ball a little hard, but Preston needs to make that catch.
Does Navarre throw a hard ball to catch, Randy?
He is today. We got a couple of them, and maybe he's pressing too hard. Maybe he's just trying to be too accurate and too good, but he's thrown the ball with a little bit too much zip on it on certain passes.
3rd and 13. Yeah, we got both sides accusing the other of premature movement. And David Whitboat will sort it out.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, 5 yards. The down remains 3rd.
First Michigan penalty. Lloyd Carr can't be at all happy despite leading 14-0 with what he's seeing on the field right now.
Braylon Edwards, the Michigan star receiver, at least coming in, has not seen any balls thrown to him today. He doesn't look banged up. He's standing on the sideline, but we've seen it be Preston. We've seen Calvin Bell. We've even seen Gonzalez in there. So interesting to see why Edwards isn't on the field.
Over the middle. Through the hands of Gonzalez. Incomplete. Jermaine Gonzalez, the junior out of Pontiac, Michigan. And that looked like a catchable ball.
Again, high, but yes, I agree with you. A catchable ball. If John Navarre has one thing that he needs to work on more than anything else, it's his tendency to throw the ball high. He makes good reads. And if you're throwing a ball high, generally it's techniques. Ball out of reach. No, that ball wasn't out of reach. That would have been a good catch, but certainly one that should have been caught.
I thought he short-armed it a little bit, didn't you?
If you're throwing the ball high, generally it's technique and footwork with a quarterback, and it's the one thing Navarre tends to do consistently.
I thought the receiver didn't get his hands up high enough or quick enough. Rivas for the field goal. And it is good. Garrett Rivas on a 44-yard field goal. And finally, Lloyd Carr's offense is on the board in this game. So Rivas, the true freshman out of Tampa, Florida, puts 3 points on the board for Michigan, extends the lead to 17. Michigan on top 17-0, but only 3 of those 17 points were scored by the offensive unit. And there's the drive. Just 30 yards in 8 plays.
Now, you look at this and you see 17 points on the board, but Indiana defensively has really done a pretty decent job.
Either that or Michigan's helped them out a little bit.
I think it's a combination of both.
Kickoff by Lindbergh deep into the end zone. Down by Indiana. Hoosiers get it at the 20. Busy day in college football. To the studio, Mike Gleason.
Wayne, Penn State at home, finally on the board. 80 yards, 14 plays. Austin Scott gets the call, finds the end zone for the 5th time this year. It's now 14-7 Minnesota by a touchdown. And Iowa's on the board in East Lansing, Michigan. Nathan Chandler, his 9th scoring strike of the year. Rolling to his right finds Mike Follett, 6 yards, 12 plays, 80 yards. And it's 14-7 Michigan State on top of the Hawkeyes. Wayne?
That looked like a little West Coast misdirection play. Straight ahead run here, Big Ten style. Not much for Chris Taylor. Grant Bowman, Elaine Kashima collaborate on the stop. Loss of a couple. Braylon Edwards has not seen the field yet today. He had a few drops last week, 13 receptions, however. And Randy, they wouldn't bench him just for some drops, would they? Or?
No, that would surprise me very much if he were being benched because of the drops, because he made some outstanding catches as well.
Michigan shifted off defensively. Indiana flinched offensively, and I think it's going to cost the Hoosiers 5 yards. Or is it? The officials stopped the play. I didn't see a flag thrown. Maybe Indiana or somebody got a timeout called.
Michigan certainly looks confused, trying to get their defense onto the field.
Meanwhile, the Hoosiers ready to go. Lavecchio, open receiver, Tyke Spencer covered up quickly. Out across the 20 to the 22, gain of about 5 or 6 yards. Jackson and Hall respond in the Michigan secondary. 4th down for Indiana. I'm not sure what happened, Randy, because the officials stopped the play, and Grant Bowman came across the line, and I'm not sure if they just didn't have the ball set in play yet or what.
They may not have blown the whistle to start the play, to let the ball be in play, but Michigan confused defensively that time, ran their nickel package out there late. Fortunately for the Wolverines, though, Indiana threw the ball short and didn't give up a big play.
Tyson Beatty again in punt formation. Breaston back deep for Michigan. Good leverage. Oh, man, this thing could bring rain. Breaston hit as he tries to make the catch. Penalty markers all over the play, and Michigan recovers. Coming up with the football for the Michigan Wolverines was Leon Hall, who happened to be in the neighborhood. Looked like Leonard Bryant was down in coverage quickly for Indiana. And they will talk things over. Remember, there's no halo rule, but you have to allow the receiver to make a clean catch.
Clearly interfered with Preston before he had the chance to catch the ball.
The opportunity to catch the kick on the kicking team. 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
So this will put it out just beyond the 35 at the 37-yard line. 10:36 to go. First half. Jerry DiNardo and company down by 17 on the road. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Gary Williams. Had a strange game here at Michigan. Lloyd Carr's team leading 17-0. Coach Carr in his 9th year at Michigan. One of just 4 to roam these sidelines for 100 or more games. Michigan going straight at the Indiana defense with Chris Perry out to the 44-yard line on a gain of about 7 yards.
Boy, working behind an awfully good offensive line here for Michigan, led by David Boz, the left guard. Adam Stenovich, the left tackle, really probably the strength there, but a lot of experience up front.
Second down. About 3. Perry again, stutter steps and cuts it back. Fumbled the football again. Second time today. Hoosiers have it. Joe Gonzalez comes up with it. First down, Indiana in Michigan territory.
Well, as much as the Michigan defense is trying to put Indiana away, the offense is really giving them more and more opportunities. And Perry, again, a big hole as he cuts back. Gonzalez comes up. Take a look late here as Perry cuts back. Gonzalez comes up from his safety position and just puts, actually it was 13, Josh Moore from behind him that comes through and strips the ball. Take a look, Tim Kish right there in the middle, the defensive coordinator for Indiana.
But the offense continues to be bogged down. Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, the true freshman out of New Orleans, a loss of a couple of yards, and it's 2nd and 12 for Indiana. The offense has had numerous opportunities to make some plays and to move the football off of turnovers, but the Wolverine defense has been unrelenting. And
a couple of those turnovers, Wayne, so deep in Indiana's territory, the offense didn't have good field position, but at least it kept Michigan off the board.
Second down. Quick hitter off the left side, and not a whole lot there. Jason Sullivan, the fullback. First 4 games, 7 turnovers for Lloyd Carr and company. Today, despite leading 17-0, that's why Coach Carr has a furrowed brow and slumped shoulders. 4 turnovers by the Michigan offense.
Well, it bothers a coach whenever your team is just not playing up to its standards. And you've got a 17-0 lead. He's frustrated that his offense is getting maybe just a little lackadaisical with the ball.
Glenn Johnson in motion. Third down. Lovecchio going to take it himself. Gets down to the 41. A gain of about 4 yards, far short of the first down. Roy Manning, the outside linebacker, on the stop.
When this is going to give Indiana a free down, the flag down offsides against Michigan. It's going to give Indiana another shot at it.
Offside. Defense. 5 yards from the previous spot. Repeat, third down.
Prior to the Jerry's team has had some ups and downs. Prior to their last punt, Indiana, when we saw Michigan jump off sides, the quarterback Lovecchio apparently took the snap and dropped to a knee quickly, but the officials didn't call a penalty on Michigan, and suddenly Indiana's got to punt the football. So it's been that kind of a strange afternoon, folks. Now third down, and Lovecchio going to the air, dumps it over the middle. Nice throw and grab. Glenn Johnson's got a first down at the Michigan 34-yard line. Marlon Jackson jumped him from behind.
Boy, what a nice catch by Johnson. Lovecchio throws the ball, though, in the only spot that you can throw it in for your receiver to catch it. Steps up, throws the ball low so that his receiver doesn't get killed. Johnson, nice job. I've got the first down. Just sit there. Lovecchio throws it low, lets Johnson go down and get it. Take a look at the price Lovecchio pays after he releases that ball.
He was hammered. The going has been tough on the ground against this rugged Michigan defense. Green, Ellis on the carry. Michigan defensively, second in the conference, seventh in the nation in total defense. But in rushing defense, they're only sixth in the Big Ten.
But Wayne, it's something Indiana needs to stick with. They have to be able to run the ball, at least continue to show the run, because if they get into what they probably need to do to score points, throw the ball, yeah, Michigan's just going to bear back and come after them. So even though the runs may not be for big yardage, they need to stay with it and have patience.
Aaron Halterman, the tight end, is in motion. Then Jarvis Green, Ellis, and Carl Diggs comes across the line and buries him at the line of scrimmage. It's a young offensive front, as you pointed out earlier, and against a veteran defensive front, and that's a lot of what we're seeing here.
You know, it's pretty good by the offensive lineman. You saw Jason Sullivan, the fullback, though, just whiff on Carl Diggs, and you can't whiff on anybody against this Michigan defense. They're too good at tackling in the open field.
3rd and 7 for Indiana. And I believe the Hoosiers need a timeout, and they do. So Lovecchio, who's had a somewhat rough afternoon, heads to the sidelines to chat things over with Jerry DiNardo and company. Al Borges, the offensive coordinator. The Hoosiers trying to get something going offensively are at the Michigan 31, facing a 3rd down and 7 when we get back on the field.
Today's Big Ten game is brought to you by Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA. Red Roof Inns. Save a bunch on your next stay at Red Roof Inns with Red's hot deals at redroof.com. And by the J-Team, only at Jiffy Lube, the well-oiled machine.
Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Gary Williams. The Big House, Michigan Stadium. Partly sunny afternoon, beautiful day for college football. What a place to come to. You talk about pageantry, you talk about celebration, talk about a rite of fall. 107 strong. My goodness. And yet Lloyd Carr talked about that little stadium in Oregon, 50-some thousand. He said it's one of the great home field advantages he's ever seen in college football for the Oregon Ducks last week.
That's a statement when the coach of Michigan says that.
Yes, indeed. 3rd down and 7. Naked gun for Lovecchio. Sets up a screen and has to throw it away. Everybody covered and pressure right away.
Wayne, I don't know that I would be using the shotgun as much for Indiana with a true freshman at center. He's got so many things to think about. The balls are coming a little high back to Lovecchio, and he's had to jump up. Just a missed assignment that time as Carl Diggs comes right up the middle, unblocked. If you're going to run a screen, you need to at least slow the lineman down. Now on 4th down, Indiana's got to go for it from the 31-yard line. Too far to kick a field goal into the wind.
Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis, the lone setback. Lovecchio screens it that way. The ball was tipped incomplete. Harmlessly incomplete. Jeremy Van Alstine tipped the football. And Michigan's defense holds once again. And the offense heads onto the field. It is 17-0 Michigan, but it's been anything but easy sledding for the offense of the Wolverines. 6.5 to go in this first half. Michigan leading 17-0, but their offense has been plagued by 4 turnovers in this first half. They've scored 2 touchdowns, 1 on special teams, 1 on defense. 1st and 10. Braylon Edwards in the game for the first time at the wide receiver this afternoon. And trying to pick his way and fighting for yardage is David Underwood getting his first carry of the day. This week's passing combinations are brought to you by Cargill. Collaborate, create, and succeed. How about that Leach to Smith combination?
You know what? As many good quarterbacks as Michigan has had, you look at Rick Leach, and he's always up there in every statistical category. For a guy, he played 4 years, but I think they threw the ball 8 times in those 4 years.
Here's Navarre on 2nd down. Decisive throw this time. Avant was hit hard and drilled back. Dwayne Stone was first to arrive on the scene along with Gonzalez. And he is appears to be just short of the first down. They're going to mark it near the 40. 3rd and short coming up for Michigan.
Jason Avant has really been the favorite target of John Navarre. When you ask him, who's the clutch guy, who's the guy you go to, boy, he'll tell you, Jason Avant, he's my favorite receiver. Braylon Edwards may be the most athletic, maybe the guy that makes the bigger plays, but Jason Avant, I can count on him day in and day out.
Underwood, the tail of the tandem. Underwood may be short of that first down. Boy, the Hoosiers got their hands to the ball very quickly that time. I'm not sure Underwood got it. Ball marked to the 41. First down marker appears to be near the 42. David Whitboat is going to bring the chains out as you get a look at some scores at the bottom of your screen. Kentucky at the moment upsetting Florida.
Boy, I think you're right, Wayne. I think this is going to be a good half a yard short.
Indeed it is.
You know, when you have the turnovers that Michigan has, last week offensively, they never got into a rhythm because of the special teams fiascos. They weren't on the field. You're out here today in the first half, you have 4 turnovers. It's hard to get into a rhythm offensively. It's one of the things that you really need, especially this offense, because their passing game is down the field. Your quarterback doesn't get that many chances, and when you have the 4 turnovers, you never really get that feel for the game.
Michigan is going for it at the Wolverine 41-yard line.
This is a Lloyd Carr attitude play. You guys have not done anything yet today. Here's an opportunity. Do something.
Navarre on the keeper. Good surge, and he appears to have the first down. John Navarre, when you've got a 6'6", 230-pound quarterback, that's a pretty good call on 4th down and inches.
Well, I think this is another opportunity, like I said, for Carr to keep his offense on the field. And take a look at the surge of this offensive line. You talked about the 6'6" quarterback in Navarre. He also runs behind an offensive line that's 6'6", 6'5", 6'7". So he's got some big boys back there to hide behind.
First down for Michigan near the 43. Navarre, an empty backfield. Juggled, dropped, incomplete. Braylon Edwards, the intended receiver, and he had the linebacker dripped all over him, Kyle Killian.
Well, Braylon Edwards, the first ball thrown to him should have been caught. Navarre throws it a little bit high, but yet right where Edwards should have caught the ball. Take a look here to the left and see how high this ball is. It's something you know what, that's helmet high.
Yeah.
That's helmet high. You like to throw the ball into the body, over the middle to protect your receiver, plus the balls don't get tipped up. But everything is not going to be perfect. That ball's got to be caught.
3 drops today by Michigan receivers. Slot at the bottom of your screen, the offset eye in the backfield. Chris Perry slips a defender up the middle into Indiana territory on a gain of 9 yards to the Hoosier 48-yard line. Make that Pierre Rembert on the carry. Check that. They have put Rembert in there. Chris Perry's had a couple of fumbles here today.
Take a look at the fullback. He's going to lead here on the block. And just take a look at the way he fires into the line of scrimmage and gives Rembert that line. Rembert goes right over him, knowing with confidence that Dudley's going to throw that block. And if you're going to play running back at Michigan, you are going to learn how to block, because you aren't going to carry the ball until you block. Doesn't matter if it's fullback, it's a matter if it's tailback as well.
Randy, they threw a flag on the far side in front of the Indiana bench, a false start on Michigan on that play. So wipe out the running play you just so expertly telestrated for us. It's all for naught. 5-yard penalty, 2nd and 15. Braylon Edwards, the man in motion. Navarre sets up a screen, and it's dropped by Rembert in the flat. This is becoming an epidemic, isn't it?
Well, they're trying to give Navarre some high percentage easy completions. The 5-yard passes down the field. We saw Edwards drop that ball. The screen pass right here. That should be a very high percentage throw. And Navarre has thrown the ball well. He's thrown it where he needs to throw it. But as has plagued the Wolverines all season, they haven't been able to catch the ball.
It sounds simple, but
you know, if they don't catch the ball, they're going to turn these guys into defensive backs.
Spoken like a quarterback. Here's Navarre stepping into his throw, delivers a strike. Anthony Avant inside the Hoosier 40-yard line to the 38. Larkin and Moore make the stop 24 yards downfield.
Well, this is the guy Navarre likes to throw to. We just talked about his confidence in him. Watch the strike right in the numbers right there. Avant not afraid to catch the ball over the middle. Navarre knows he's going to get hit. Take a look at that hit. He stands right in the pocket. He saw that coming. You'll never question this guy's toughness.
7 of 14, 73 yards, couple of picks. First down.
And several drops.
Yes. 4 at least. Navarre off play action. Into the flat, Dudley. Kevin Dudley ushered out of bounds inside the 35 of Indiana. Dwayne Stone, the defensive back, got over to make the stop. 32 in crimson and white, and 32 in maize and blue.
Michigan for the first time today getting the fullback involved in the passing game. Kevin Dudley, no receptions coming into today, but getting a little more involved in the offense now.
Preston's at the top of your screen. At the bottom of your screen, Tyrese Butler, a fifth-year senior. To Rembert. Not a whole lot there. Jody Clemens made the stop. Time now for Heisman History, brought to you by the award-winning lineup of Suzuki products, all proud presenting sponsors of the Heisman Trophy. Michigan Trophy winners. Go back to Tom Harmon in the 40s, Desmond Howard, Charles Woodson in the 90s.
You know what stands out? Desmond Howard, wide receiver, but I think he won the Heisman because of his ability on special teams and as a kick returner.
And what made Woodson special was his work going over from defense to offense.
And the number of big plays he made on both sides of the ball.
Navarre once again to the air. Quick toss of Ant on the slant. And boy, he's a strong kid. He takes a tackler with him inside the 25 to the Hoosier 20-yard line. 14-yard gain. Leonard Bryant and Josh Moore.
Well,
on the stop.
You talked about Avant and what a strong kid he is. He's not that big, only 200 pounds, but he's so competitive. He's got excellent jumping abilities, so he'll go up and get that ball. He needed to step up coming into this season to be a go-to guy opposite Braylon Edwards. I think, Wayne, the way it's developing is Avant's becoming the go-to guy #1 right now, and somebody else is being the secondary receiver.
1st and 10 at the Hoosier 20 for the Wolverine offense. Short drop by Navarre. Quick toss, and unable to hang on to it is Massacoy. Gonzalez gave him a lick.
One of the benefits Michigan has with their tight ends, especially Massacoy, they put all the receivers to one side, bring the tight end to the other side, isolate him. Navarre throws the ball. Just looked like he took his eyes off of the ball, looking upfield at Joe Gonzalez, expecting to get hit, which he should as a tight end. Another pass, though, should have been caught.
2nd and 10. 12th play of this drive coming up for Michigan. It has been their most sustained drive in terms of number of plays of the afternoon. Later stages, second quarter. Navarre under a blitz. They pick it up well. Preston, touchdown. Yard touchdown pass to Steve Preston, his 3rd touchdown of the season. He beat Buster Larkin to the end zone, and a beautiful throw by John Navarre.
Well, this is a route that has been open a couple of times today. Watch the blitz pick up to the right side of your screen. There it comes. Rembert picks it up, and Navarre throws a perfect strike to Preston. Starts with the protection. Everybody had their man, did a nice job. That made it an easy throw against one-on-one coverage.
Rivas for the point after out of the hold of Gutierrez. And Michigan's offense scores its first touchdown of the afternoon, but nonetheless, the Wolverines, who have scored on special teams and defense, lead 24-0. John Navarre gets it on track on this last drive for Michigan in the first half. All right, Randy Wright, let's take a look at that last touchdown by Michigan.
Well, it starts with protection, and we talked about the running backs at Michigan. You're going to learn how to block. The safety's going to come from out here, and Rembert steps up and throws a great block on him, giving Navarre the time to be able to see the play develop and then throw the strike.
Greenberg on the kickoff. And they will down it. Lance Lance Bennett doing the honors for Indiana. Hoosiers will take it out at the 20-yard line. Special teams came to the fore first for Michigan.
Well, it has to come because the offense was struggling so much. Here you have Preston on the punt return. The offense had already turned the ball over. It takes the punting team. And then it was Indiana's defense that comes up forcing the fumble. Twice Josh Moore comes in from behind. Michigan survives the 4 turnovers because the outstanding special play, and their defense has been outstanding as well.
First and 10 at the 20 for the Hoosiers. Brian Lewis driving forward and ran into big Gabriel Watson in the middle of that Michigan defense. Pickup of a few yards. Minute 56 to go. Michigan takes a timeout. They'd like to get that offense back on the field and get another crack at it.
Wayne, you go back to that last drive where Michigan had the 4th and 1. They went for it. The quarterback sneak. I think that was a signal Lloyd Carr's trying to sell to his offense. You got to get into rhythm. It worked. They came down, put their best drive together.
12 plays, 68 yards to a touchdown. Be sure to join us next week as Indiana travels to East Lansing to take on the Spartans from Michigan State. Mike Gleason and Rod Smith get things started at noon Eastern with all the news and notes in the Big Ten. That's Indiana, Michigan State next Saturday at noon Eastern. Michigan State off to a beautiful 3-1 start under John L. Smith. Coming up after the game with Iowa today. That's our game, Indiana, next week. And then Illinois on the road, Minnesota on the road. So things get a little bit tougher for the Spartans.
Well, you got to love October in the Big Ten, though. So many games. The conference is fairly balanced, and there's a lot of fun to be had on Saturdays in October.
Michigan State leading Iowa 14-7 in the first half of that ball game up at East Lansing. Second down. On the delay up the middle again, it's Lewis. Gets a couple of more yards to the 25. Coming up at halftime with Mike Gleason and Rod Smith in the Big Ten studio. Big Ten conference action getting underway today. Top 25 highlights including UConn and Virginia Tech, Florida at Kentucky. First half analysis all coming up halftime in the Big Ten studio with Mike Gleason. Another timeout taken by Michigan. They have 1 remaining.
Well, they've got the wind at their back. They're hoping to hold Indiana here and get that offense back on the field again. Maybe continue with the rhythm. They finished that drive 24-0. I'm sure Lloyd Carr feels fairly comfortable with that kind of lead. Certainly not satisfied, but he wants to get that offense going and get some of their problems worked out.
Lovecchio, 4 of 12 passing for just 8 yards and an interception. Indiana not doing much on third down. 2 of 8 on third down conversions for the Hoosiers. They came in at 35%.
Well, Lovecchio hasn't had much help around him. A couple of drops, but really no protection, no time to sit back there and let things develop.
3rd and 5. Johnson, the man in motion. Lovecchio, tough throw there, tipped up, intercepted. Penalty marker is down. Lawrence Reed's got it. The officials hold up the play.
They're ruling it incomplete as the ball hit the ground.
Did it really? Wow.
The backfield judge came in, ruled it incomplete, but the penalty should go against Indiana for interference here. Excuse me, against Michigan. The penalty should go against Michigan for interference.
Here's the explanation.
Defense. The penalty is at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
See if we can pick it up here. The ball hitting the ground. There's the interference. Did the ball hit the ground? Yes, it did. Hard to see on that angle, but
nice throw, though. The ball's going to go down low. You see the left arm right there on the receiver, but see if that ball does. No, that ball looked like it came right off of Haney's helmet.
That did not hit the ground. Now on 1st and 10. Quick move by Brian Lewis out across the 35. And now Indiana can pretty much run the clock down here with a minute 32 to go. Michigan does have 1 timeout remaining.
Well, as you said, though, with the first down off of the penalty, kind of a moot point. And in that interception, which actually, as we saw there on the replay, the ball never hit the ground. Wouldn't have been an interception anyway because of the penalty. So all of it kind of moved.
We're seeing a some unusual things happen out there today, aren't we?
Well, Indiana needs to go in at halftime, kind of regather and make sure they come out and play hard. That's the one thing Jerry DiNardo demands and will continue to, is his team play hard.
Ryan Lewis picking his way for a nice run and a first down out across the 40 to the 45-yard line. Patrick Massey tracked him down. Neither quarterback has had what you would call a stellar day today. In Navarre's case, he's been plagued by drops by his receiving corps for the second week in a row, more often than not.
A couple of the mistakes self-inflicted, the interceptions, but I agree he's had far too many drops, and that, I'm sure, is what Lord Carr will address in the locker room at halftime as well.
Lavecchio had a man open on the sidelines, pass underthrown, and he wasn't able to rein it in. Aaron Halterman, the tight end, would have been a difficult catch near the shoe tops.
When a quarterback gets hit as much as Matt Lavecchio has here in the first half, you lose some confidence. You stop thinking about things going on downfield and start thinking about things going on around you. And even when you have time to throw like he did, he just senses and feels that pressure, and you throw the ball a little early, and it was a poor pass.
2nd and 10. Pinozo, the fullback. So they throw the big guy a bone, and he rambles up to about the 49 of Michigan as we near 30 seconds now to go in this game. The first half, I should say. Lamar Woodley, a good-looking freshman defensive lineman. He will be a star here at Michigan in the coming years. Need the stop. Defensive line.
Indiana not really in a hurry up, but not taking their time. Maybe take a shot or two here as the clock winds down.
Lavecchio, and the pass play broke it up, incomplete, intended for Johnson, and Jackson got a hand on it.
Well, they wisely worked the clock down. Now you'll have 4th down, but with only 7 seconds left, maybe try Hail Mary, something, get him into the end zone, or you never know, with a penalty, get into field goal range.
Jerry DiNardo's team is trying to hang in there, down 24-0. There's Marlon Jackson, All-America candidate. Prior to the season, sat out the first game of the season and has made a transition from cornerback to safety. Randy, you were talking about that yesterday. That's not often you see that transition.
Well, it's not. And with Jackson, it tells you how good this secondary is. They're very experienced, one of the best secondaries around. When you can take a guy that's an All-American cornerback, move him to safety, that takes some guts to do that. And safety's a little different position. They wanted him to play safety. He's not afraid of competition. He'll come up and stick your hat on it.
Well, it's been a busy day of college football. Conference season's getting underway, at least in the Big Ten. And Mike Gleason, Rod Smith will have all of that, plus top 25 highlights, first half analysis as well. Halftime report from the Big Ten studio is straight ahead. Now let's take a look at the non-conference standings in the Big Ten. Lloyd Carr talks about 2 seasons, non-conference and then Big Ten season. And the leaders in the non-conference were Ohio State and Iowa. Michigan at 3-1. Minnesota also 4-0 in the non-conference. Those are the rankings, of course, in the national polls. And then Purdue at 2-1. They'll have another non-conference game. 4th down, 7 seconds to go. Lavecchio going for it all. Down the middle to Travis Haney. And it is intercepted by Marlon Jackson. So the first half comes to a close on the interception by the senior Marlon Jackson. His first interception of the season. At the half, the visitors from Bloomington, Indiana trail the Michigan Wolverines 24-0 here in Ann Arbor. Time now to send it to the Big Ten studio for our halftime report, Mike Gleason.
All right, thanks a lot, Wayne, and welcome back to the Phillips 66 ESPN Plus College Game Day studio. Now, Rod, you look at 24-0, but really, LeSueur's interception, Breston has the punt return. It's really 10-0. Michigan's offense really isn't doing all that much against Indiana's defense today.
You know, and that's surprising because Michigan has 39 4th or 5th year seniors in that ball club, and you'd expect with that kind of experience that they'd get off the ball to a quick start on offense. It's the same trap that they ran into last week against Oregon. They just don't start fast. They're going to have to be better early on offense to have a good year in the Big Ten.
All right, Rod, big game going on in East Lansing today. Iowa continues to climb the polls. Take away Michigan State's meltdown against Louisiana Tech, and we would have 2 undefeated teams going at it. Jeff Smoker He breaks the school record with his touchdown to Gilles Cabot on 7-0 Michigan State.
And then Smoker throws a touchdown to Eric Knott, who's one of the most underrated tight ends in the whole conference.
First play, second quarter, Chandler finally gets on track, rolling to his right. This is Mike Fogg. 6-yard touchdown, 13-7. And right now it's 17-7, Michigan State on top. And the Spartans, they've really struggled in the red zone. Dead last on both sides of the football in the Big Ten. Look at Jeff Smoker. The game we did a couple of weeks ago against Louisiana Tech. He was tied with Bill Burke with 46 touchdown passes. Didn't get one. Went out with the injury. Didn't get one against Notre Dame, but he has 2 today. He's playing very well.
Absolutely. I think Jeff Smoker is technically a sound quarterback as you're going to find in the NCAA. He is that good. He throws the ball off his front foot. Throws 7 different receivers in the first half here. On the first drive, he goes 7 for 7. I mean, he is just absolutely lights out competing the football on the first half.
So Jeff Smoker, that's 47 and 48 now, touchdowns in his career. He completed 11 of his first 12 passes. Let's go to the Horseshoe. Northwestern had 2 100-yard rushers last week against Duke. Ohio State almost had 2. Krenzel still sitting this one out, but here comes Lydell Ross. He had 25 yards on 3 carries on their opening possession. Buckeyes are on top 7-0.
You know, Mike, we keep harping on special teams and how important it is. Here they miss a field goal, and Ohio State is not going to be able to continue to win close games if they have blunders in special teams.
Buckeyes aren't much better after 2 3-and-out series. Scott McMullen picked off here by Brian Hines, and it's 10-0. The Buckeyes, they've been in some close ball games. It's still 10-0. The Buckeyes have led 24-7 in the fourth quarter in each of their last 2 games, yet watch the lead dissipate. So this one's far from being over.
Yeah. You can't throw interceptions. You feel the ball across your body like McMullen did on that last play you saw, and you're going to get it picked.
Now to the base of Mount Nittany. Lions and Gophers going at it. Joe Pa, 600th game, coaching. Assad Abdul-Khalik leads the Big Ten in passing efficiency. How about this run? Oh, some juke, some dancing here, and it sets up a touchdown. Minnesota takes a 14-0 lead.
Put your hands together, folks. I think the Nittany Lions have a new leader quarterback. Michael Robinson steps in midway through the first quarter, makes plays through the air, makes plays with his mobility. I think you're going to see a new face at that quarterback position for a long time.
Okay, now it's 17-14. Minnesota up by a field goal. In their first 6 seasons in the Big Ten, Penn State trailed only John Cooper's Buckeyes teams as far as wins. The past 4 seasons, they're only 18-4. Let's get back to the Buckeyes right now if we could. Krenzel sitting out as we saw in the highlights. They're idle next week. He wanted to play today because they go on the road for the first time to Wisconsin. He's afraid he's going to be a little bit rusty. Any concern?
I don't think so. When you have a guy like Krenzel who played and started as many games as he has, a 5th-year senior, tons of experience, an academic All-America, he's an intelligent guy. He's going to be fine when he gets back in the lineup. I don't think he's going to show a lot of rust at all. I
noticed during the Penn State highlights you said, sit down, here we go, the Michael Robinson era. Do you think subconsciously or consciously Joe Paterno's been setting him up now, knowing that Zach Mills would finally take a seat to Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, the way an offense performs, the quarterback often gets too much of the credit and too much of the blame. I mean, Zach Mills has struggled. And again, there's not a whole lot of talent on that offense. So Michael Robinson steps in, changes the energy in the huddle, changes the pace a little bit, and he's provided a spark.
And right now, though, the Nittany Lions trailing the Gophers 17-14. Marion Barber, the 3rd, incidentally, with his 11th touchdown. He leads the Big Ten in the ball game. Elsewhere, Virginia Tech and UConn going at it today, and Frank Beamer's getting some help from his defensive buddies. We'll be back with those highlights and more. We have Florida, Kentucky as well coming up. It's 24-0 Wolverines on top of Indiana at halftime. "30 minutes in the Big House in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan losing last week on top of Indiana this afternoon, 24-0. Well, Michael Vick's legacy in Blacksburg won't die anytime soon. At least his shadow's finally starting to dissipate. Virginia Tech has won 15 straight non-conference games in Blacksburg. What an opportunity, though, for UConn today.
Yeah, Terry Colley goes down early with an injury. He's leading the nation in rushing. It's a huge loss for UConn.
Oh, that is a huge, huge loss. No doubt about that. First quarter, Hokies already scored a field goal. Randall to Ernest Wilford. Amazing grab for the touchdown. It's 10-0 Hokies. And then UConn goes for it on 4th and 4. Eric Green with the pick. He takes it 84 yards for another Hokie touchdown.
I think one of the big differences in this year's Vodtech team is they have so much speed in the secondary.
Kevin Jones finally went over 100 against Texas A&M. First Hokie to crack the century mark this year. Here's his numbers: 11 carries, 93 yards.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Corey Dillon. He has has a kind of an upright running style, but he has fantastic balance. He always cuts with both feet firmly planted on the ground. He's a tough tackle.
You know, Kevin Jones, big-time runner. Of course, Michael Vick was Michael Vick when he played for the Hokies. Frank Beamer, wonderful coach. Am I missing something here? Is Virginia Tech the 5th best team in all of America?
I think they're deserving of that rating. As I just said, they have tremendous speed in the secondary. Of course, special teams, they always give opponents nightmares. They've got Jones running the football. They're more experienced at quarterback. And I really think Virginia Tech is one of the top 5 or 6 teams in the country.
You don't have to be a Florida fan or a Ron Zook fan for that matter, but you have to feel for the Gator coach with the verbal attacks he takes. Gators in Kentucky today with freshman at quarterback. And speaking of QBs, look at the big guy, Jared Lorenzen. He's not 260 anymore. Big 8-yard gain here.
The big guy getting it done, Aaron Bliss with the 1-yard plunge for the touchdown.
And Kentucky's on top 7-0 in the second quarter. Beach again, another 1-yard plunge, 14-0 Kentucky.
You know, it's going to be tough to stop Big Lorenzen close to the sidelines. At 260 or 275, he's a load on that quarterback sneak.
You know, 7 days we talked about the fact, 7 days ago I should say, we talked about the fact that Florida, you can't go with a 2-quarterback system, but Leak gets the start today. The freshman out of Charlotte, North Carolina, the top recruit, high school recruit in the country. But you look at Ingle Martin. He was one of the top passers efficiency-wise in the nation. Are they throwing him to the wolves, or is Leak the right guy right now? You know,
I really think that Zook has made a snap decision based on criticism he's received about his offense from boosters and fans and whatnot in Florida. I think Ingle Martin was doing a fine job. He was one of the nation's leaders in passing efficiency. You didn't need to go to Chris Leak this early. And for a freshman to try to step in and lead a ball club with an SEC charge on the line, I think it's a little tall cotton.
So it's 14-3, Kentucky on top of Florida in Lexington. And the Big 12, Missouri taking on Kansas. Missouri hasn't started 5-0 since 1981. It's 12-7, Kansas on top.
Yeah, you suspect Brad Smith and Missouri would get this thing going early with the run game, but it's not happening so far.
Well, our game in the Big House, the Michigan Wolverines get a punt return and an INT return. It's 24-0. The Maize and Blue on top of Indiana. SBC College Football Saturday. Get up to speed on the latest stats, chat, scores, and more with SBC Yahoo DSL. Halftime in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michigan on top, 24-0. Welcome back to the Phillips 66 ESPN Plus College Game Day studio. It's time now to swing that Big Ten spotlight over to West Lafayette, Indiana for some Before the season started, keep an eye on this freshman here, Steve Breston out of Pennsylvania. Big game against Oregon last week. Took it to the house on the punt return this afternoon. Well, we went to break with Stephen Breston returning a punt for a touchdown. We bring you back with the number 15, Breston, with the touchdown reception, 24-0. Michigan on top. Time now for the Volvo Big Ten leaders. Rod, the top 4 names are all pretty impressive football players here.
Yeah, all those guys are great backs, and I think I think Perry is doing a fantastic job, especially since Navarre and that Michigan passing game has been struggling early.
Well, Chris Perry, 13 carries, 72 yards in the first 30 minutes. 30 minutes to go from Ann Arbor, 24-0 Michigan on top. We're sending you back to the Big House for the second half of the Indiana-Michigan game. Enjoy the second half, and we'll see you back here after the game. 24-0 Michigan on top.
Welcome back to Michigan Stadium in East Lansing. Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Gary Williams. Michigan leading 24-0, but a somewhat unusual way in which they compiled 24 points. Michigan will kick off to start the second half of this afternoon's game. Troy Nienberg getting set to place it on the tee. Nienberg's been kicking off. Garrett Rivas has done the place kicks, and Adam Finley, the punter, hasn't seen the light of day yet in this game. It's been amazing. Just about set to go. Sun-splashed afternoon in Michigan. And the kickoff deep into the end zone, and the Hoosiers will accept it at the 20-yard line. Well, an unusual first half of play. Some coaches might call it a little bit sloppy.
You think? A little bit, especially offensively. Indiana never has gotten into a rhythm, hasn't had anything that they can go to. Michigan offensively self-inflicted. 4 turnovers.
A couple of fumbles, couple of interceptions. They pretty much shot themselves in the foot. But they do have a 24-0 lead, which I don't imagine was very heartwarming for Jerry DiNardo, the Indiana head coach. Quick toss over the middle. Gets out to about the 25-yard line. Pinozo, the fullback. Let's take a look at the Chevy stats. Chevy Silverado first half stats. The numbers for Indiana were, Andy.
Yeah, 57 yards total. They haven't gotten anything going through the air. No protection. Michigan, their stats are, 216 yards is a lot of yards for an offense that really hadn't put many points on the board.
Trying to keep it going on the ground, and Lewis somehow spins out of traffic and picks up a first down to the 35, gain of 10 yards. LeSueur and Curry on the stop in the Michigan secondary, and it's a first down Indiana.
Well, Indiana wanted to come into this game, do something on the ground, and yet let that set up other things. Here, not a lot of room there for Lewis, but he turns it into a big play. That's what they're going to go back to. What they came into the game plan with, and that is get something on the ground, try and run the ball, try and move the chains.
First and 10 to the 35. Vecchio. Halterman makes the catch to the sidelines, and Gary Williams. And what did Jerry DiNardo have to say at halftime?
Wayne, he echoed exactly what Randy just said. They're not going to panic despite the deficit. They're going to try to keep running the football, and defensively, they're going to make a few changes on coverages. But as far as what they're going to do offensively, just like you said, try to run it.
And it's been painstaking. They were off schedule on the 13 first down plays of the first half. There's 13 total yards. Second down for Indiana. And short of the first down as the catch is made by Halterman, the tight end. Now, I mentioned they had struggled on first downs, Randy, and that led to a lot of punts.
Well, you see all the punts, but look under the plays. 3, 3, 6, 4, 3. There are way too many threes in there under the plays. It's not bad if it's points, but you don't like it when it's plays.
Yes, indeed. 13 first down plays of the first half, 13 total yards. Got to do a little better than 1 yard per pop on a first down.
And that tells you why Matt LaVecchio has been under so much pressure. When you've got 2nd and 10, 2nd and long, you're going to come after the quarterback.
Brian Lewis behind the block by Pinozo, the fullback, gets the first down. Nicely executed running play. Pickup of about 3 out to the 46-yard line, and Jackson made the stop with Patrick Massey helping out.
But Jerry DiNardo has such a young team at Indiana that one of the problems he faces is he can't practice everything. So some things his young players, unfortunately, just have to learn on the field on game days, and you're going to pay a price for that. And I think this is part of the growing process he's going through now.
Especially against such a veteran Michigan group. LaVecchio shovels it forward. Oh, nicely done. Pinozo inside the Michigan 40-yard line. Oh, I'll tell you what. Great ad lib by the quarterback and the fullback. 17-yard gain.
this is something, too, that Indiana really doesn't have a lot of. And this is players that can step up and make these kind of plays. Lavecchio gets rid of that ball right before his knee goes down. Pinozzo doing a nice job staying in the area he's supposed to be so Lavecchio can find him. Great job by Lavecchio keeping his eyes downfield.
Out of the offset eye, Lewis up the middle inside the 35 to the 34-yard line on a gain of 3 yards.
For a team like Indiana, it's one play at a time, then a first down, then a series, and then you get points. This is more about them developing and trying to find themselves and building a program than it is taking it game by game. And this is where it starts. You're down 24-0. One thing Jerry DiNardo will do is my team will play hard all 60 minutes, and that means every play regardless of the score.
Halterman, a tight end in motion. Second down call, Lavecchio to the air. Under pressure, gets away. Gets the pass away to Pinozzo, and he's close to the first down on the sidelines at the 28-yard line of Michigan.
Lavecchio making a nice run in the backfield, thought he was going to be sacked, but he fought off the defender and then keeps his eyes downfield again. John Pinozzo, watch the hit right there. Massey can't get him down, but Lavecchio knows where his outlet, the fullback John Pinozzo, is, does a nice job getting the ball and picking up positive yards.
Two fullbacks in the backfield now. And they come at the Michigan defense with Lewis. Brian Lewis, the senior out of St. Louis, Missouri. Coming off his third career 100-yard rushing game, 116 yards and 17 carries against Kentucky last week. And he's got a first down for Indiana on what is their best offensive series of the game thus far.
And Wayne, I think that's because they've been able to have some balance on this drive. They've stayed on the ground, but yet they've made a few things through the air. They haven't abandoned that ground game, as Gary Williams told us that would happen, and they've done a nice job here.
Lewis behind the block by Halterman to the 20-yard line on a gain of 6. Marlon Jackson among others, Marcus Curry and Pierre Woods over there on the tackle.
And that's something you haven't called a lot of, those secondary members making tackles. It's usually been the linemen and the linebackers because they've dominated the line of scrimmage. But when you see Marlon Jackson and Marcus Curry, those guys making tackles, Indiana's getting into the secondary.
Looks like Indiana's getting a nice push up front from their young offensive line on this drive. Second down. Blitz coming. Boy, that play well defended. Pinozzo, the receiver, he was decked right away. They blitzed Marlon Jackson. Jeremy LeSueur makes the tackle just inside the 20. Gain of a couple of yards. A play designed to get a whole lot more than that.
This was just well played on both sides of the ball. Take a look at the tailback right there. He's going to come up and cut Marlon Jackson down and allow Lavecchio to get that ball over. But it's just good one-on-one open field tackling on Michigan's part.
Time now for the Red Roof Inn Red Zone proficiency. 98% of Red Roof Inn guests plan to come back. See you soon. And the Hoosiers trying to move the chains here with a quick move up the middle by Brian Lewis, and it appears he's got the first down close to the Michigan 15-yard line.
Wayne, I think you're right. This offensive line for Indiana, led today by their freshman, true freshman center, is really coming off the ball on this possession and giving their backs the line of scrimmage.
Chris Mangiero saw his first action against Indiana State a couple of weeks ago. First and 10. They give to Lewis, got by one man and cut it back. And inside the 15 down to the 10. Nice move by the senior running back. So it'll be a second down upcoming, and they're getting good production on first down, gain of 5 yards there.
Sometimes your backs just have to make somebody miss, and Scott McClintock, 36, comes in free, but Lewis avoids him, makes him miss. Turned into a 5-yard gain, as you said, but should have been a 5-yard loss.
Kind of gave him the dead leg, didn't he? Second down. Again, they go to Lewis, and running hard inside the Michigan 10, down near the 7-yard line.
That was a nice run. Didn't look like a big hole for Lewis to go through. Stutter steps in the hole and then accelerates away from the tacklers. Take a look here. It's coming right at you. Take a look. The stutter step up there, and then he gets right through it and picks up positive yardage.
How about this? Best drive of the game thus far. Now they've got to pay it off.
They've had trouble getting in the end zone when they've been inside the 20 so far.
Lewis bouncing, gets the first down inside the 5 to the Michigan 4.
Wayne, by that comment, they've had trouble getting in the end zone this year. They haven't been down here much today, but this year they've had trouble finishing off drives with touchdowns.
Indiana just 50% touchdowns. Marlon Jackson still down on the field, and he's going to need some assistance. Marlon, the All-America defensive back.
Take a look at the blocking there, the sealing down of the blue jerseys, and Jackson comes up and couldn't really see it, but Denard, boy, he likes the field view, doesn't he?
He's down on his knees on this drive.
Of course, Brian Lewis is only 5'7". Maybe you got to get down that low to see him.
See him, I guess. It looked like what happened with Marlon Jackson was that he got rolled by the running back onto his back. May have had the wind knocked out of him, perhaps. Well, I think it's a little bit more than that. It looks like he's limping a bit.
He's holding his shoulder. Maybe he got a little stinger there with his left shoulder, left arm.
And now he comes off pretty much under his own power. So the Wolverines now backed up for the first time defensively. How about this? First half, 57 yards. This drive, they've exceeded that by far. First and goal. Lewis crashing the middle. Stacked up by the mid portion of that Michigan defense.
Well, the key pickup of the first down on the previous play gives them 3, maybe 4 cracks as they get down here inside the 5. What's worked for them on the ground game has been the outside off tackle stretch types of runs. That sets up nicely for the potential bootleg off of that.
Norman Hoyer shaken up for the Wolverines now. The big defensive tackle, 5th-year senior out of Peoria, Arizona.
Well, they got a whole host of 5th-year seniors playing up on the defensive line, don't they?
While we have a moment, let's step back to the Big Ten studio. Mike Gleason. Mike?
Well, Wayne, Virginia Tech opening up a different kind of hurt on UConn. Second half, kickoff, Mike Emo, look out, 90 yards for a score.
You know what, Mike Emo is Jones' roommate there. Both that room scoring a lot of points today, huh?
It's Kevin Jones, 34-0 Virginia Tech. Nate Kading adds a field goal for the Hawkeyes in East Lansing. It's now Michigan State by a touchdown, 17-10 over Iowa in the third. Wayne?
Thank you, Mike. At Virginia Tech, they make scoring on special teams a habit, don't they?
They have convinced their players that it is a vital part. Every coach wants to. Their players have bought into that.
Hoyer helped off. Watson replaces him. Lavecchio running option. Lewis lost his footing and then lost yardage. Back outside the 5-yard line. Scott McClintock, the linebacker, got over for Michigan. And it becomes a 3rd down and goal to go. The football now back at the 8-yard line. Loss of about 3 or 4.
Tough play to run because Michigan runs east and west so well. They've got so much speed in their linebackers. They get out there, they get in front of the blocks, therefore they cut down those angles. Tough to get to the outside on these guys.
3rd down, goal to go. Lavecchio facing what would appear to be a passing situation, and he looks to the air. Lots of time, and it is incomplete. Broken up by the intended receiver Johnson because that ball was thrown right to Marcus Curry.
Poor decision on Matt Lavecchio's part to throw this ball. Michigan in a zone defense just drops back. This way your defenders can look into the backfield the whole time. Gets good protection to buy some time, but just throws this ball up there, and Glenn Johnson does a great job of initiating the contact against Curry and saves the interception.
Brian Robertson for the field goal try, 27 yards. Out of the hold of Graham at McFarland. And he has it successfully through the uprights. It is good. Well, they officially call it a 26-yard field goal, and the Hoosiers are on the board with 6:20 to go in the 3rd. Indiana on the board, trailing 24-3, 6:20 to go in this third quarter. A long drive by the Hoosiers. That's our Jiffy Lube, well-oiled machine. They certainly were at the outset of the second half. The Indiana Hoosiers' longest drive of the season, 19 plays, 72 yards, took 8 minutes and 40 seconds off the clock.
Jared DiNardo has to be happy with the way his offensive line came out, made their adjustments, and fired off the ball.
Michigan, I think, is expecting a short kick or an onside kick, perhaps. It's a pop-fly short kick. And Pierre Rembert crossed the 20. He's got good speed if he gets to the open field, but he does not. Gonzalez makes the stop across the 30, near the 35-yard line where Michigan will put it in play.
Today's Big Ten game is brought to you by Chevy Silverado. It's the right truck. Guinness Draft Stout, enjoyed responsibly the world over. And by Napa Auto Care Centers. Napa, get the good stuff.
Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, Gary Williams. Beautiful afternoon in Michigan. Partly cloudy skies. 107,000 in this cozy stadium. I bet you've never heard anyone call it cozy, huh? The big house at Michigan Stadium. Looked like some premature movement by the tight end of the right side of the line, and the officials hold up the play. A false start on Tim Massaquoi. We haven't seen too many flags in this game.
Been too many turnovers to have any flags.
Prior to the snap, false start, offense. 5 yards, the down remains first.
Yes, folks, if you've just joined us, we've made up for the lack of flags with a plethora of turnovers. Both sides.
And it's just hard. We've talked about this a little bit earlier. It's just hard to get into a rhythm offensively. And Michigan, this is the second game in a row where they have faced that battle. They haven't been able to sustain long drives and therefore work on things and get into that rhythm.
So Michigan now, 1st and 15, back to the 29. That's Braylon Edwards, who did not catch a pass in the first half, barely played in the first half. Chris Perry fumbled twice in the first half, looking for daylight up the middle, still on his feet. A nice run out to the 36-yard line. Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The Big Ten opener between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Michigan Wolverines, along with Gary Williams and Randy Wright. I'm Wayne Larrabee. We'll get you some scores, get you caught up to date on what's going on around college football here. About 110,000 on hand here today, and they've got a big crowd at Ohio State out in front of Northwestern. Michigan State continues to lead Iowa. A couple of interesting Big Ten games. Quick toss to the flank, and forced out of bounds is the fullback, Brian Thompson. Hernandez Jones forced him out of the far side.
Virginia Tech again, 40-0.
Yep. Yeah, Connecticut an improved football program, and they'll get into the Big East next year. But obviously they're getting worn out today. How about Missouri losing to Kansas? We were all wondering who Kansas beat to go 3-1 in the non-conference. Navarre in a tight pocket, scrambles out of there across the 40 to the 41-yard line, and it'll be 4th down for the Michigan Wolverines.
Nice defensive stand by this Hoosier defense, holding Michigan to a 3-and-out. And you can see their players are they know they're down 24-3, but they feel they are in this game and they're playing with the emotion that they started the first half with.
Indeed they are. And I think they decided that, hey, the second half score is 0-0. And that's how they approached it.
I agree. They understand what they're in this game for, what they want to get out of it. And that's a nice job of coaching to get those players to respond that
way. Kick just got away, and it caroms out of bounds as Adam Finley had a piece of it. And we've got an injured Hoosier down near the 37-yard line in Michigan territory. That's Travis Haney, the wide receiver. They're already down their starting wide receiver, Courtney Roby. Back in offense when we come back. Travis Haney, who started today for the injured Courtney Roby at wide receiver, helped off the field, and looks like they're checking over a leg injury. So Indiana down a couple of receivers, taking over 1st and 10. Lovecchio to the air. Glenn Johnson is the experience now in the receiving corps, and he's got about a 9-yard gain to the 45-yard line. Marlon Jackson on the stop. Pierre Woods, the linebacker, also there. Inside of 4 minutes to go in the third. Second and short. Taylor. Nice hole off the left side of the line. First down to the Michigan 49. Gary Williams on the sidelines. Gary, since taking over the job at Indiana, Jerry DiNardo's put a lot of miles on his car. Tell us how.
Yeah, you know what? He embarked on something he calls the 311 Tour. 311 high schools in the state of Indiana. He visited every single one of them, 13,000 miles. He's showing Indiana fans he's committed to rebuilding this program.
On first down, Taylor inside the 35. Well, you know, one of the prime factors when you're rebuilding a program is that you must first establish some kind of recruiting presence or control of your own state before you can really branch out and make things happen.
Well, and Indiana is one where you've got Notre Dame, Purdue, and Indiana all recruit from that state right there. Now, obviously, Notre Dame is a national school that's going to recruit probably more nationally, but it's very competitive there. And Jerry DiNardo wanted to build that kind of relationship with those high schools and get those coaches knowing he has confidence, and those are the players he wants to take.
Taylor, nothing there on a straight-ahead dive. How young is this Indiana team? Well, take a look at the roster breakdown. Only 25 upperclassmen on the football roster for Indiana.
They're so young, only half of them can drive.
Yes. And they're going up against an experienced Michigan team that is extremely talented.
22 redshirt or true freshmen, that combination, and that's amazing. You complicate that with the fact they only have 62 scholarship players. 85 is the limit. They're playing with 62. That's a huge disadvantage.
It's a shorter deck, isn't it? Third down. Vecchio threads the needle and the pass incomplete. Tyke Spencer could not hang on. Would have had a first down. Now it's fourth down for Indiana. Jackson and John Shaw on the stop.
Al Borges, the offensive coordinator for Indiana, one of their struggles, they haven't made big plays in key situations. That was another one right there. Tyke Spencer holds on to that ball, keeps this drive alive.
So they bring the punting unit onto the field, and really this is the specialty for Tyson Beatty, the punter. He's pinned opponents inside the 10-yard line 6 times in the last 2 games. Matter of fact, 8 punts inside the 20-yard line this season. Good leverage in this kick. They appear to have it covered pretty well, and they do. It backs up a bit at the 10 and down at the 11-yard line. Nice play. Good punt by Tyson Beatty, the redshirt freshman. Yard line, 1st and 10. Navarre's hit 8 different receivers with completions today. And here's Chris Perry. Well, he leaped that initial thrust of the offensive line, went right over the top and gets out across the 15 to the 17-yard line. Nice run. Winding down the third quarter, it has been a rough day for the offense, although you wouldn't know it if you just joined us and saw the score.
No, they had the one nice drive that ended on the touchdown to Reston. Other than that, big plays here and there, but nothing consistent.
Second down. Minery, a tight end in motion. Navarre tripped and fell as he handed it off to Perry, and Perry drives forward, breaking tackles across the 25 to the 26-yard line. Josh Moore, the linebacker, makes the tackle.
When you take a look at the storyline today, and it's had to come in other areas rather than the offense. This one, the punt return, Steve Reston, and then the defense comes and gets the points on the board. Jeremy Lesur, the interception return all the way for the touchdown, and it's been their defense stopping LaVecchio and the Indiana offense. So when you have 3 aspects of the game like Michigan, one is taking the day off, they still have the lead.
Perry, a rugged run through the middle of the Indiana defense to the 31-yard line. Pickup of 5. Kyle Killian from the linebacking core. Victor Adianju on the defensive line make the stop.
Boy, what a great kid Chris Perry is. Not that big, only 6'1", 215 pounds. But Perry is a guy that I think can have a great NFL career. He's a senior here. He's going to be a great, in my opinion, 3rd down back. He's got wonderful hands, and he blocks and blocks and blocks.
I'll tell you what, all these Michigan backs block. They spend 4 years here. They learn how to do one thing first, block. first catch of the day for Braylon Edwards, just short of a first down. He made a nice grab on a low liner from John Navarre.
Edwards not real involved in the passing game and had, as we've illustrated earlier, a couple of drops, but this is where he's so dangerous. Makes a nice catch on a ball that's a little low, but yet can turn it into a positive play, and he's a big kid, 6'3", 215 pounds. He's going to fight for those yards.
Everyone is perplexed by the number of drop passes Braylon Edwards has had this season. Fourth quarter coming up from the Big House in Ann Arbor. The Hoosiers a solid third quarter on offense, but they trail by 21. Early fall colors here at Ann Arbor, Michigan Stadium, along with Gary Williams on the sidelines, Randy Wright alongside, and I'm Wayne Larrivee. Great to have you with us on a beautiful, partly sunny afternoon. Michigan facing a third and short. Chris Perry hesitated for a moment, and Josh Moore, the linebacker, got there first and brought him down at the 35-yard line, about a yard short of the first down.
Well, Indiana just had Michigan outnumbered. There you see Josh Moore. They had Kevin Smith on the other side come up, and they got excellent penetration and got to Chris Perry in the backfield. On the left side there, right here, they just have too many guys to fight against the blockers. You see the 3 blue jerseys, and then you have Gonzalez come up from his safety position, so no chance for Perry.
Adam Finley in punt formation. Beautiful kick here. Glenn Johnson drifting back to his 12. Johnson cutting it back. Penalty marker down, probably for a block in the back. Johnson keeps the play alive and is taken out of bounds in front of the Michigan bench across the 45 or the 46-yard line. Carl Tabb got him out of bounds. 34-yard return. I believe the penalty will be against Indiana. Looked like a holding call. Yep, against the Hoosiers. A lot of times when a runner cuts it back like that, or a return man, it'll be a block in the back, and it's really not the fault of the man who committed the penalty, because the play just turned around behind him.
During the return, holding on the returning team, 10 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
Wayne, you see the same thing when a quarterback starts scrambling around. The angles change, and that's where your holding penalties really come into play, as that one was. Not the block in the back, but the holding, because they change and you reach out and grab.
So instead of starting out beyond the 45, they're back inside the 20 at the 18-yard line of the Hoosiers on offense.
One of the problems the Hoosiers face now, they came into the game without their best receiver, Courtney Roby. Travis Haney has gone down with an injury. They're not very deep there. Ben Jarvis, Green, Ellis, the lone setback. Lavecchio, penalty marker down. Hit and sacked back inside the 15-yard line. Looked like a hold on the offensive line. And over to make the sack on the play, Norman Hoyer, who was shaken up earlier in the third quarter. Wayne, I think it was against Chris Mangiro, the freshman center for Indiana.
Michigan declines the penalty. It's a loss of about 4.
Take a look right here. I think he's just going to reach out and tackle as he's going to get beat right off the ball. You see him reach out and just throw down Grant Bowman. The official throws the flag right on top of it. Sometimes when you're going against a fifth-year senior and you get a step behind, you reach out and grab.
Second down. Ellis into a maize and blue wall, led by Norman Hoyer. So Hoyer gets a sack, then he gets a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. He's having a pretty good series defensively.
Well, and you see where the first down struggles for Indiana really complicates things. They get the sack there. When they had that nice drive and came down and got the points on the board, it was because first down runs were successful. Here, they struggle on first down. That leads to trouble the whole drive.
Like Al Borges and Jerry DiNardo told us the other day, Borges, the offensive coordinator, to get off schedule, and they're not good enough if they're off schedule to convert. Third down and long. Lavecchio looking around, now under pressure. Gets it away over the middle, off the hands of Johnson, incomplete, would have been a first down. Great effort by the quarterback, Matt Lovecchio. They were coming after him.
Boy, he has enough quickness to get away and a strong enough upper body to throw that ball in a catchable spot going to the left, which is awfully hard for a right-handed quarterback to do. Nice job buying some time and giving him a chance. Well, that was a hit that was not only a little late and a little unnecessary, but very high.
Well, Vecchio back to the sidelines. Tyson Beatty to do his thing, and that is kick the football away. Fair catch signal made, and looking up into the sun, Steve Breston makes the catch near the 49-yard line in Michigan territory. 37-yard punt, no return. Rough day for Lovecchio and the Hoosiers. 24-3. Time now for the BMW Ultimate Drive of the game. And there it is, 12 plays, 68 yards. Steve Breston, a 20-yard touchdown reception. We'll take a look at it in a moment. First down for the Wolverines, knocking on the Hoosier territorial door. Patient run by Chris Perry into Indiana territory to the 47-yard line. Back in the first half.
This is a touchdown pass that capped that drive. Navarre steps back, has got plenty of time to throw, and throws a strike to an open Steve Breston. Boy, Lloyd Carr loves this guy, doesn't he? He talks about Steve Breston and just beams with excitement.
He's the, again, they had a great receiving core come in as young recruits last year. They were able to redshirt them, and they're now just reaching the field, and Breston is becoming a very big part of the picture. Second down. Navarre. Breston, sensational grab. Was he able to hang on? No. That would have added to the lore.
That would have elevated him rather quickly.
Yes.
Boy, what a nice effort going up for this ball. Only had one hand, and it looks like it's pretty good coverage. Leonard Bryant is right on him. Just lets the ball slip through. Take a look here, you get a better view of it. Runs a nice route, accelerates away, but the ball, you can see, just kind of slips through and hits the ground right there. Yep. Good coverage by Leonard Bryant, not giving up on the play.
So third down for Michigan. Perry, the lone setback. Navarre to the air. Takes it himself. John Navarre lumbers for a first down inside the 40 to the 37-yard line of Indiana. Leonard Bryant made the stop, 10-yard pickup. And frustrated Indiana coach Jerry DiNardo.
Well, his defense is playing well. He has them shut down. Then you take a look at Steve Breston again. And one of the things, Lloyd Carr compared him to Anthony Carter. And they talked to him, what do you think about that? And he, who's Anthony Carter? Hey, when I was growing up, Mercury Hayes was the guy that I really looked up to. Anthony Carter, that's a guy I don't even know. Boy, that really hurts, doesn't it?
Doesn't it, though? Tell me, it wasn't that long ago. First and 10. The reverse to Breston, hit in the backfield. Oh, what a play by Kenny Kendall, the redshirt freshman out of Chicago, Illinois. Decks him for a loss, a sizable chunk of yardage, back outside the 45.
Well, this not only didn't fool Kenny Kendall, there were a number of white jerseys tracking this down. Take a look. They're all coming to the right. They see it. There's Kendall. There you see Josh Moore, who's right there. You see Hernandez Jones, which is back there. Very well defensed. Good disciplined defense.
Michigan tried a number of reverses in the first half. Have they reversed too much here today?
Well, I think they want to try and open up their game plan a little bit to get other teams thinking about other things they can do to kind of stop the pursuit. And yeah, I think reverses usually work once, maybe twice, but not more often than that.
Timeout Michigan. The Wolverines weren't happy with the play they had or didn't understand it. We'll be back. It is a beautiful afternoon in Ann Arbor, Michigan. 110,000 plus on hand here. We're talking about Anthony Carter. It wasn't that long ago, was it? There he is. There's AC on the sidelines now. Second down and long for Michigan. John Navarre gets it out to the tight end Ecker. Tyler Ecker, a freshman, redshirt freshman out of Dorado Hills, California, and Joe Gonzalez made the stop.
Well, when you have a wide receiver like Preston, you tend to get a lot of attention, so you come off and you go to your tight ends. Those should be the guys that are open. Nice job just settling down in the open zone, but a good open field tackle there by Joe Gonzalez.
Ecker had spent 2 years on a Mormon mission. So he's a little bit older than most redshirt freshmen. 10 different receivers now for John Navarre here this afternoon. Third down for Michigan. Beautiful strike. Braylon Edwards hangs on. First down to the 20-yard line of Indiana. Hernandez-Jones makes the tackle 22 yards downfield.
Well, when you have so many weapons, you talk about 10 different receivers catching balls today. What a nice throw here by Navarre. He gets time and just throws a strike right over the middle. Edwards doesn't have to do much to catch that ball. That's right in the lap.
Michigan on the drive here, just under 10 minutes to go in the game. Wolverines haven't scored yet in the second half. Perry. Straight ahead down near the 16-yard line on a gain of about 3 yards. The red zone, Red Roof proficiency rating, 98% of Red Roof in guests plan to come back. So we'll see you soon and take a look at Michigan today in the red zone. Couple of chances, had a field goal and a turnover.
But surprising that they've only had 2 chances here in the fourth quarter for the total game. We're in the fourth quarter and they've only had 2 all day.
First downs were almost even. I believe it's Indiana 12 and Michigan 13 first downs right now.
Well, Indiana has played very well here in this second half.
Braylon Edwards, the man in motion. Navarre looking that way. Waiting for Edwards to the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown pass, John Navarre, Braylon Edwards.
Well, a nice little confidence booster there for Braylon Edwards, a wide receiver struggling with his confidence, but when you have the time that John Navarre has to throw the ball, and you know you're going to have that kind of time, he waits, lets Edwards get beyond the corner before he gets to the safety. And when you just know you're going to have that much time, you can just do so many things to the air.
Extra point through the uprights by Garrett Rivas. And Braylon Edwards started the game on the bench, but here in the fourth quarter, he's come to the fore on this latest touchdown drive for Michigan, 31-3. Now the chorus line having some fun here on the sidelines of Michigan Stadium. Michigan on top 31-3 now. That's their first scoring drive of the second half. Snappy 51 yards in 8 plays. A couple of big plays to Braylon Edwards, including the touchdown. Twin safeties back deep for Indiana. Nienberg's kickoff. Good leverage into this kick. Bennett from his 7. Lance Bennett on a nice return out across the 25 to the 27-yard line, where the Indiana Hoosiers will put it in play 1st and 10.
Today's Big Ten game is brought to you by Outback Steakhouse. No rules, just right. Cooper Tire, proud to be the official tire of the Big Ten Conference. Cooper Tires, don't give up a thing. And by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Gorgeous afternoon in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Indiana back on the field offensively, 1st and 10. Then Jarvis Green Ellis steps through a tackle attempt of Marcus Curry. Is forced out of bounds at the near side, near the 33-yard line. John Shaw got him out of bounds.
Boy, this core of running backs that Indiana has, Ryan Lewis, the senior, but a couple of good young ones behind him with Chris Taylor and Ben Jarvis Green Ellis. He's the true freshman. Big kid, 210 pounds already. And fortunately, he's the fastest of them all.
Hits the hole hard, finishes the run across the 35, close to the first down as he spilled near the 37-yard line. Carl Diggs and Rondell Biggs in on the stop. Diggs and Biggs with first down, Indiana.
And once again, Indiana just trying to run their offense, stay within their system, not worry so much about what Michigan is doing or the score, but trying to get some kind of rhythm and work on things that they need to build on and improve on.
1st and 10. Lavecchio goes down. On the blitz, or I should say from the defensive end spot, Lamar Woodley. Woodley came in, recruited as a linebacker, but quickly moved back to defensive line where he played in high school. He's going to be a good one.
You have a redshirt freshman right up here trying to block where Woodley's coming from there, and you got true freshman and redshirt freshman, and this time the true freshman just won. Just too quick to the outside and got around Justin Fry.
2nd down. I'm not sure if movement by the offense.
I think what we saw is what we had the first time. Michigan jumps off sides, and the center, Chris Mangiro, snaps the ball, and Lavecchio takes the knee. This should be offsides against Michigan.
Offside, defense, 5 yards. Repeat, 2nd down.
You can fool us once on that, but you're not going to fool us twice. And that time, it's something that you see more and more happening. The center knows when he sees somebody jump to snap the ball. If the quarterback knows it came up on the wrong count, just go right to a knee.
Yep. 2nd down. Not a bad play, really. Ellis out to the 40-yard line. Green Ellis on the carry. Lawrence Reed made the stop. The difference for Michigan offensively in the 2nd half is number one, they haven't had the football as much as they did in the 1st half, but John Navarre in this half was 5 of 6, 49 yards, just 1 drop pass by a receiver. In the 1st half, they had a plethora of drops.
Well, they had their mistakes, and you're right. Those drops, you don't look at those as turnovers, but if it's on 3rd down and you have to punt, it really can be the same as a turnover.
3rd down and about 9. Lavecchio screens it out. It's juggled and dropped, incomplete by Ben-Jarvis Green Ellis.
Screens are such a hard play to run against this Michigan defense because they have so much speed at the linebacker position, and that defensive line just gets in there so quick that there's not enough time for your offensive line to get out in front. It's a tough position for Al Borges to be in because he doesn't have time to let Lavecchio drop back and throw the ball downfield, so you try and run something else, and it's one of the problems you face when you place a team that is superior defensively as Michigan is.
Tyson Beatty in punt formation. Now Preston comes off the field. And here's the punt. Good high kick. Making the play on it and getting covered up near the 20-yard line. Leon Hall, a cornerback. 48-yard punt. Very little on the return. Later stages of the ball game in Ann Arbor. Michigan in command. Michigan on top, 31-3. And the outstanding back of the game, brought to you by Outback Steakhouse, is that gentleman, number 23, Chris Perry. A rugged 107 yards on 20 rushes here this afternoon for Michigan. Perry came in leading the Big Ten in rushing and was 4th nationally. 1st and 10 for the Michigan offense. Matt Gutierrez in at quarterback. Redshirt freshman screens it out nicely. Got the big fullback Thompson down the sidelines for a gain of about 9.
Wayne, let's take a look at what Chris Perry has done today. He's gotten a little more involved in the passing game out here in the flat, yet it's his running that Michigan needs and counts on. But when you got a player that is explosive as Perry is, get him involved as many ways as you can. Today, a little bit more through the air. So 107 on the ground, but some bigger plays through the air as well.
I believe Perry's done for the day. Lloyd Carr able to get some of his backups into the lineup, some of the underclassmen. And Underwood, nice move off the left side. Underwood has been banged up a little bit, had a shoulder problem. Just about a week of practice, but they felt he had a very good week this week in practice. He appears to be healthy. There's Gutierrez, a redshirt freshman from Concord, California. Completed all 3 of his passes in his career debut opening week against Central Michigan. First and 10 for the Wolverines. Good protection. Gutierrez didn't like his options downfield. Takes it on his own and loses a yard. Martin Lapostel and Victor Adianju on the stop.
I mean, take a look there. John Navarre's final numbers: 24 attempts, 15 for 24, 6 dropped passes. And you look and you say, well, it was kind of an uneventful day. Boy, 6 dropped passes.
Who counts those dropped passes?
The quarterbacks, of course. All quarterbacks count those.
Don't you just move on to the next play? Don't you just forget that?
Oh, no, the drops you remember forever. The interceptions you move on to the next play.
You hold the drops against them forever, right? 2nd and 11. This is Rembert. Pierre Rembert out of John Navarre's high school. Cudahy High School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. Now take a look at this line of quarterbacks down there. 10, 16, 13, and 20. They're all signaling plays. You guess who's calling the right play?
Well, the reason you have to be smart as a quarterback, you've got to remember which one of these guys is live and which 3 are the dummies.
You're exactly right. I can't remember what our producer Casey Carter told me to do on the very next play is. I'm too dumb to play quarterback, obviously. I need to gain some pounds and become a big old defensive lineman. Just go hit somebody. Gutierrez. Tipped by Gonzalez. Incomplete. Trying to hit Tyler Ecker, the big 6'6" tight end up the middle. And it's 4th down for Michigan.
Indiana glad to have Joe Gonzalez back. He was hurt last year, got hurt in the 3rd game, missed the rest of the year, had the knee injury this year, but he's a senior leader back there and the most experienced of all their defensive players, their defensive captain, and he looks like he's healthy and back and ready to have a good rest of the season.
Mark Spencer on in punt formation this time, muffs the snap and gets it blocked. Picked up on the play by Indiana, and into the end zone for the score is Buster Larkins.
This will go down as another special teams fiasco for Michigan. Everything was good except the punter dropped the ball. Nothing broke down. It was a well-executed punt play other than the fact the punter drops the ball, but yet it'll go down as another blocked punt for a touchdown.
They have had some special teams snafus this year, haven't they?
Well, they've had some good plays on special teams as well that we've already seen here today, but boy, far too many mistakes.
The extra point is good by Brian Robertson. Well, the anatomy of a special teams miscue right here.
Well, take a look. Good snap. It's right into him. You do everything but catch the ball, and then you try to get it away by that time far too late. And hence the touchdown for Indiana. But good protection up front. Ball just hit him right in the hands, and Mark Spencer couldn't hold on to it.
So the Indiana Hoosiers reach the board. Has this been an unusual game or what with all these special teams play? And of course, watching Michigan's game at Oregon last week, there was no more strange a way to lose a game than that one.
Well, whenever you have a game with a lot of turnovers, a lot of drop passes, a lot of the special teams, big plays by both sides, it's going to disrupt the flow, and that's going to make the game appear a little different.
Here's the kickoff. Looking up into the sun, Jeremy Lesueur. Across the 10 to the 15, brought down short of the 20-yard line. The kick coverage hasn't been bad for Indiana here today. Well, special teams at Oregon really hurt the Wolverines, Randy, and you've got to wonder, this is a phase of the game you have to be at least adequate in. And
well, our studio broke this down, and you've seen some of this, but boy, it just is disastrous in that these special teams miscues led to touchdowns.
Yes.
And when you're giving up points off of these kind of things, they're just awfully hard to make up.
Randy, in looking at Michigan, and again, you get another look at it here. This one blocked. An extra point right there blocked. When you get a look at Michigan, and you're talking about, there's Jim Botcher, the special teams coach, and you're talking about national championship, you must be pretty much airtight in all three phases of the game. And obviously, they've still got some problems to overcome in the special teams area.
Well, no question. And if you're going to win a national championship, if you're going to be on that scale, usually you have to be better in special teams, not just even. And Michigan has probably not quite there. And I mean, they're not even. That their special teams is hurting them in certain areas. Lloyd Carr, though, will quickly point out, hey, we made 3 great plays on special teams last week. We blocked a field goal and ran it in for a touchdown. We recovered an onside kick. Oregon tried to fake a field goal and go for the touchdown, and we stopped them. So the difference, only one of their plays wound up in a touchdown, whereas for Michigan, some of their miscues led to 17 Oregon points.
The reason why Rusfeld is kicking off again is because offsides in Indiana on the last kickoff, and this one caroms into the end zone. Michigan will start at the 20 to the Big Ten studio. Mike Gleason.
Wayne, we got a good one going in East Lansing, Michigan State, Iowa. It's 20-10, 4th down play. Freddie Russell stopped dead in his tracks. Michigan State's defense playing with a lot of heart this afternoon. 20-10 at the conclusion of your game. We'll try to get you over to East Lansing for some bonus coverage from ESPN Plus. Wayne?
And next week this crew will be out at Michigan State as the Indiana Hoosiers head up to East Lansing. Don't forget Mike Gleason, Rod Smith get things started at noon Eastern with all the news and notes in the Big Ten Conference. 1st and 10 for Michigan. Dip into that stable of running backs. They've got Perry back on the field to add to his totals. And he picks up a quick few yards. Navarre back in at quarterback.
I think Lloyd Carr wants to get first downs and not have to punt again. He put some of the starters back in the game.
This is really unusual. I can guarantee you the Michigan coach is not real happy with this play of his team in this ball game. And yet, if you just look at the score, you think 31-10. Well, Michigan as expected.
Not happy with the play of his offense. I think his defense, he will be happy with.
Out to the 27-yard line. You're right. He's probably upset more with his offense than anything else, any other aspect of the game, although still concerned about special teams. We are at Michigan Stadium in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Better than 110,000 on hand. Along with Gary Williams on the sideline, Randy Wright alongside. I'm Wayne Larrabee. Great to have you with us on a beautiful sun-splashed afternoon. How about that? 177 consecutive games over 100,000. 3rd down for the Wolverines. You know, you took a look at the last series, Navarre and company on the bench. You figured, well, that was it. But I think you're right, Randy. He wants to get this offense on track. This is Rembert. Pierre Rembert got decked for a loss of 1. And it's 4th down coming up for Michigan. Indiana playing some inspired football on the defensive side, despite the scoreboard. Kenny Kendall on the tackle.
And you know, Wayne, I think it's great that you see the excitement by the Indiana players. We're down 31-10. Look at that excitement there. We're down 31-10. We come up with a nice 3rd down stop, and their spirit is still into it. I think that's a tremendous job their coaching staff is doing to keep their players focused and to do that. And I think this team will only improve.
And a line drive kick on the punt right here. This is Glenn Johnson. Johnson looking for running room, gets it out near the 45-yard line of Indiana. 2 minutes to go in the football game. The Wolverines better tighten things up. There's no question about that. As you take a look at their upcoming schedule, and this will not get any easier. They'll be at Iowa, then Minnesota on a Friday night.
And remember, that game moved. It's always harder to move a game with a short week when you play on the road because you got to travel a day earlier. It disrupts things, and that's shaping up to be a huge. These next two are both looking like they're going to be huge games.
Very big games. Minnesota was winning earlier today at Penn State. Iowa was trailing at Michigan State. 1st and 10. Lovecchio into the flat. Pinozzo, the fullback, out close to the midfield marker.
Never easy to go into the dome and play. It's just a different atmosphere. And even though one team may or may not be better on paper, Michigan may be a little better on paper than Minnesota, it's never easy going to that dome.
It sure isn't. Especially if the Gophers have it going and get a crowd that's making some racket. Noise factor in that dome is big time. Nice play as Lovecchio escaped right here, and reaching over to make the play was Larry Harrison. Took his ankles out from under him. Harrison, a redshirt freshman out of Detroit.
Well, Jim Herman has said between Larry Harrison and Gabe Watson, they will be 2 of the best defensive tackles ever to play for Michigan.
Oh, boy. And that covers a lot of good defensive tackles. Well, Vecchio just missed his tight end Halterman right there, it appeared. Halterman was open. And now it becomes a 4th down for Indiana.
Matt LaVecchio staying on the field, no question. Indiana will go for this here. Try and pick up the 1st down and keep your offense on. Just more chances to try and learn something, more chances to get a little more experience.
So Michigan, as they head forward, 10th ranking in the nation. On the scoreboard, winning convincingly, but some underlying concerns, right?
Well, the great teams cannot play well and have some weaknesses and still win, and I think you saw that with Michigan here.
1st down to Glenn Johnson inside the 45-yard line. Roy Manning made the stop downfield. Lamar Woodley shaken up on that play, coming in from the defensive end spot. He's on his back near the 43-yard line of Indiana. And again, as we mentioned, another of the young Wolverines who will be stepping up in the next year or two and making his mark here in this program. Very talented, highly recruited out of Saginaw, Michigan.
Well, as you often see with a lot of true freshmen, just inconsistent early in the play. Take a look. He's going to be over here, and he's going to come through. And take a look right there. He just gets clipped. Never sees the back coming out, and that back puts his shoulder pad right into the chest shoulder of Lamar Woodley.
64 seconds to go in the game. And Lloyd Carr pacing anxiously on the sidelines. He had a couple of his defenders shaken up in the 2nd half. Indiana, I agree with you, Randy. They've come to play in the 2nd half. It was 24-0 at halftime, and Indiana came out and put together their best offensive drive of the game at the outset of the 2nd half. Now Woodley up and heading off under his own power, but give Jerry DiNardo and his staff some credit. Their kids could have just mailed in the 2nd half, and they've done anything but. Well,
and he realizes he's realistic about what kind of team he has right now. They're a very young team. They don't have the full complement of scholarship players, and whenever you come in and rebuild a program, that's what it takes. So he knows what he's got, but he's getting the most out of what he has.
Over the middle, incomplete, and a penalty marker flies. Halterman, the tight end, and I believe they're going to get Michigan for pass interference here.
I think that's a good call. I thought Halterman was hit well before the ball got there.
David Whitvote will sort it out for us.
Penalty on the play.
Well, take a look and see if we can see here. Live action. I thought Halterman got hit early. It's going to come to the top of your screen. There's the ball.
That's early.
Boy, that's
early.
I don't see how you call that off. 22, John Shaw comes in, and I don't see how you call that off.
Second and 10. Got Halterman again. This time he latches on for a 1st down inside the 25-yard line. Nice throw and catch. And John Shaw, again, the man they victimized. 18-yard gain.
You get a feel for how accurate and good a passer Matt LaVecchio can be when he gets time to sit back there and see things.
LaVecchio got off to a very slow start, but has picked it up in the 2nd half. Coming back for it to make the catch, and yes, it is a lunging grab as Patrick Thompson, the junior out of Patterson, New Jersey, under the coverage of Marcus Curry. Time winding down on this one, but Indiana may actually take a little momentum out of this 2nd half.
Well, they've got a lot of things they're doing well here in the 2nd half that they can build on and feel good about.
Over the middle, Pinozzo draws a crowd of Wolverines inside the 5-yard line to the 3. Behringer and Kaufman in on the stop. No question, Michigan has a lot of its backup personnel in the game. They're getting some experience, but
Michigan's backup personnel still pretty good.
Very good. Very good. Timeout taken by Indiana with 25 seconds left to go. The Hoosiers continue on the road. Their trek into the state of Michigan goes up north a bit. They'll be at Michigan State. We'll be there with them next week as they take on the Spartans. Then it's home games with Northwestern and Ohio State before a trip out to Minnesota. Jerry DiNardo, job he's done in turning around programs. You know, he was coach of the year in the SEC at Vanderbilt, when in his first season he took a 1-10 club and made him and got 5 wins. They went 5-6 the next year. He was the SEC coach of the year, moved on to LSU, where he led the Tigers to 3 straight bowl games. And now he considers this Indiana program maybe his greatest challenge. This is a basketball school. I don't know if the administration really quite understands football. It's my opinion. But they're learning, and Jerry DiNardo is just the guy to teach them.
I think Jerry DiNardo certainly believes he can do it, but I think you're right. It is a huge challenge to have success on the football field at Indiana.
Out of the power eye, to the outside of the end zone, the senior, Brian Lewis with the touchdown. 3-yard touchdown scamper by Brian Lewis. And it's 31-10.
This Michigan defense had given up 10 points through their first 3 games. You look at the score last week, 31. You don't realize how many were special teams. Today, only 1 touchdown, though, given up against their defense.
So the PAT try coming up here. And he's got it. Ryan Robertson has it through the uprights. It is good. 9 plays, 55 yards for DiNardo's Hoosiers. And Brian Lewis paid it off with a 3-yard touchdown and gallop. So the young Hoosiers beginning to put some things in place here.
I think they've got some things that they can build on, Wayne. And this offensive line has done a nice job coming off the ball. Take a look at that right side of the line. Pinozo goes in there from his fullback spot, gets a little chip on 2 different Wolverines, and clears the way for Brian Lewis. And I think when you look at offensive success, inevitably you may have your playmakers, but it comes down to your offensive line. In the second half, this line has played much better, not only giving Matt LaVecchio some protection, but opening up some running lanes for the backs, led by Brian Lewis.
31-17 Michigan, 10th ranked team in the nation. What do you think, Randy? You inside kick this?
Why not? Yeah. You know what? It's something to work on. Sure. It's something to do.
Michigan is thinking so. They've got their good hands people up front here. They're thinking onside kick. Here's the approach. Nope. Good high kick by Tony Grossfield. Carl Tabb, a wide receiver, cut down near the 15-yard line. I'll tell you what, the kick coverage has been pretty good for Indiana here today. They've worked against some dangerous return people.
Well, they're playing hard, and they have from the outset. And you can get caught up in statistics and say, wow, 31-17, we had a punt return, we had an interception return. You take those 2 away, and it's a tie game. Well, you know what? You can't take those 2 away, and that's why defense, special teams, offense is all a part of it. But I think Jerry DiNardo will tell his team, look, guys, we're making progress. We stayed with a top 10 team in the country and continued to play hard and played outstanding here in the second half.
First and 10 for the Michigan Wolverines. Navarre in at quarterback. Pierre Rember across the 25. Boy, he has some suddenness about him. Courtney Young made the stop for Indiana, gain of a quick 11 yards. And they move the chains and restart the clock here. Special thanks to our statistician, Jeff Nelson, our spotter, John Elliott. Time winds down on this one. Lloyd Carr heads over and shake hands with Jerry DiNardo. For Gary Williams and Wayne Larrabee, Randy Wright, we send it back to the studio. Michigan wins at 31-17 to Mike Gleason.
All right, thanks a lot, Wayne Larrabee. 31-17, Rod. Mixed bag as far as thoughts on that one?
Well, Michigan has got to find a way to shore up their special teams, so they will lose a game because of the return game.
Michigan goes on the road now. They take on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Speaking of the Iowa Hawkeyes, big game in East Lansing today. Upset in the making right now. It's 20-10